It's a brand new day. It's a brand new month. First time you're seeing some of us this month. Well, welcome aboard June. What are we going to say in June? What are your expectations in June?
Well, it's the last month for the first half of 2025, and I'm having a fantastic year already, so I'm hoping that this would end a great first half. And then the next half, absolutely fabulous. But folks, welcome aboard the AM show. I hope our energies rub off you this morning if you're not feeling too excited, because I'm particularly excited. What do we have in store for you for this 4-hour packed show this morning? Of course, top of our order is the AM news. And right after that, we'll bring you AM sports, and then we'll get into our news review segment. And for the news review segment today, we have Victoria Bright. She's an entrepreneur and legal practitioner. Also, Mustafa Bande will be joining us. He's Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency. And of course, Dr. Kwabena Bomfe. He's the CEO of Census and a lecturer at UPSA. All of them joining us in studio to review the newspapers. And after that, our big stories.
Well, for our big stories, we bring you a Joy News investigation. In fact, it's a joint investigation by Joy News and Nigeria Health Watch, uncovering how some parents are bleaching newly born babies fresh from the oven. And children as young as 3 with banned lightening creams. You know them, hydroquinone, hypochlorite bleach, popularly known as Parasol, among others. Now, bleached babies, the cost of beauty, is that hotline documentary. So we'll bring you all the details here. You don't want to miss a beat. On the continent of Africa, this is quite a scourge, and now it's hitting home. Again, government is set to export some 2,000 workers as the first initiative in the series of labor exports as part of an overall strategy of dealing with the unemployment challenges facing the country. But can this be the game changer? Not just what is going to happen now, but moving forward. Are there any drawbacks, any negative implications of such a move? We'll be interacting with our guests to bring you details of that. As I say, you don't want to miss a beat.
Well, folks, welcome aboard the AM show. It's a Monday, and we are ready to serve you for God and country. First on our order, let's get into it, the AM news. Live from Kokomemle, broadcasting to all 16 regions of Ghana, this is the AM News on Joy News. Details now. Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NPP, Bernard Nchiboisiakun, popularly known as Chairman Wuntumi, faces more legal trouble as the Financial Intelligence Center begins compiling a new case against him, marking the third in under 2 weeks following ongoing investigations by the Police CID and EOCO. While details remain unclear, Majority Chief Whip Roxanne Nelson Dafiamapo confirms the center is preparing its own docket against the embattled Ashanti Regional Chairman. More.
I'm even informed that the FIC is also preparing its own docket.
Financial Intelligence.
Thank you.
Center.
So this is not the first time that an accused person at this stage, a suspect, is investigated in respect of suspected offenses that is committed contemporaneously. Indeed, by practice, if a suspect is taken through initial police inquiry, a prima facie is established and prosecution commences. Prosecution always has the power, and there are statutes, to go back to court and vary or amend the charge sheet if further evidence emerged.
The Transport Ministry begins stakeholder consultations on amending the decade-long ban to fulfill the President's campaign promise of legalizing commercial Okada operations. Tricycle operators are waiting on the sidelines. National Union of Tricycle Operators is conducting emergency sensitization rallies in Techiman, preparing riders for new regulations, while tackling a critical challenge of drug abuse among operators that's eroding public trust. And Sabit brings us more in this report.
Government has constituted a 13-member committee to put together a legislation, and as part of the requirement, we are expected as a union to sensitize our people to ensure that they abide by road safety regulations and also ensure that we prepare their minds towards the new regulations that are coming up. That's why we are here today.
Hamza Hafiz, who has led this fight for years, however, shared the reality operators face in the hands of the police and city authorities.
Of course, you know that any work that you are doing in this country that you don't have a legal backing, anybody can abuse it. We have issues with police, some exuberant police who are harassing our members and taking some kind of illegal monies from them. And also, there are certain local assemblies in this country that harass the operations of tricycles. And so, since this thing has come to stay, we can put laws together to regulate it and make it better.
Passengers do complain about the behaviors of those who are engaged into those wrong things, because when they are engaged into when they are in it, they don't listen to anybody, they don't respect. Overspeeding, unnecessary overtaking, and those things is the stuff they are in. And so bringing this in on board, it is something that is going to help. So if the person is not into that, respectfully, the person obeys certain rules and regulations that is governing the route.
Yeah. First, you know, the program I am to show me some police for that then so and I'm saying legalization now by police ni be any wearing or better will be me say o number na insure come amount. And they told to be passengers say no mutiminya problem bebre nti oye price bi ana the amount no kwani be but we no fixed price betimi aba ama yin nyina so ya ye baako ewom nti we no de yane age ho pa.
Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the non-profit organization Nohihab, Sumaila Chakura, has appealed to the government to consider exempting persons with disabilities from paying taxes on their businesses, or at the very least, reducing the tax burden on them. He stated that such a move would ease their financial challenges and enable them to reinvest their profits into other ventures, helping them grow their businesses. Sumaila Chakura made the appeal at a graduation ceremony for 19 persons with disabilities under the Ablepreneurs Project. Now, Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam tells us a story from Wa.
The lack of employment opportunities for persons with disabilities, particularly persons with visual impairments and mobility challenges, often force many to turn into beggars on the streets. Most of them have either never seen the four walls of the classroom or drop out of school due to financial challenges. The few that have made attempts to learn some trade or venture into businesses had their dreams shattered due to lack of financial support and entrepreneurial skills. There's, however, a wind of change for some in the one municipality, as non-profit organization Nohihab has given them a new lease of life to achieve their long-term dream under the project codenamed Ablepreneurs Project. Chief Executive Officer of Nohihab, Sumaila Chakura, threw further light on the project, focusing on its objectives.
So the Ablepreneurs Project aimed at supporting persons who had some forms of disability to make them economically self-resilient and to also make them change agents in their communities. So the program was structured to deliver tailored business development services to help our participants, our partners, to learn some skills that can help them to upskill their businesses and to become more profitable.
At the end of the training, which lasted for 5 months, 19 of the participants were given toolkits such as oven, tailoring machines, hair dryers, loom machines for weaving, mobile and power banks, and Shena roaster, all valued around 70,000 Ghana cedis. APA was president of the Federation of Persons with Disabilities, Alasan Suleiman, was grateful to Nohihab and their partners for the kind gesture.
I was seeing it to be a joke because we have been having a series of such organizations which normal said they are organizing a business training workshops for persons with disability. At the end of it, they normally give takeaway, which is rice and then chicken to them, and that ends it. But today, I have seen that NONIHAF is a group which deal with their ways.
Headmistress of the World Methodist School for the Blind, Reverend Monica Abalore Achana, urged the beneficiaries not to be demoralized about their current state, but work harder to be self-sufficient.
Even though society see you as disabled, your family members who are depending on you don't see you as such. And I want to encourage you that those who depend on you, I expect you to work harder.
You've turned our lives around. Now, we never imagined bring us as this far.
News.
You've turned our lives around. Now.
So quick correction, that project is actually called the Ablepreneur Project. So away from that, it was a moment of inspiration and solemnity at the University of Gold Coast as Bishop Dr. Gideon Titiofe was officially inaugurated as the new Chancellor. The investiture ceremony brought together prominent clergy, academia, and distinguished guests, all bearing witness the new chapter of the university's leadership. Maxwell Aklobotu has more.
Gold Coast Auditorium was filled with reverence as Bishop Dr. Gideon Titiofe was conferred as Chancellor in a spiritually and academically significant ceremony. Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams led the proceedings, anointed him, and prayed for wisdom, impact, and divine guidance.
The prophet Samuel anointed Saul with the horn of oil, and from that day he became another man. Today, by this prophetic act, using the horn and the oil of God, let our Chancellor become another person. Amen. Become the man that this university requires. Become the leader that this university requires and needs. As we anoint you with oil and with the horn, let the treasures of God embedded within you be activated. Amen. Let the treasures come alive in you. Let faith come alive in you. And let all that is required, resources, and all that is required be summons to come by the four wings. In the name of the Father.
Also present was Archbishop Charles Ajinasari, who delivered the keynote address. In his message, Building Great Leaders for the Nation, he urged the new Chancellor to pursue excellence, inspiring a new generation of transformational leaders.
I give a prophetic charge to the Chancellor, to Bishop Dr. Titiofe. The mantle you receive today is covenantal, not merely ceremonial. As Paul charged Timothy, I charge you, take heed unto yourself and unto the doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this, you shall both save yourself and those that hear you.
In his acceptance speech, Chancellor Titiofe reaffirmed his commitment to steering the university into a new era of growth and innovation.
To every young man and woman hearing me, you don't need a big name to leave a big mark. You don't need to be born into privilege to walk into purpose. In the next 36 months, we are converting the Sprinters Road into a university community. As I speak to you now, we have begun the construction of the Republic Square, a twin tower of 12 floors each.
Gracing the occasion as guest of honor was former First Minister of Northern Ireland. She delivered a heartfelt charge to the youth and students present, encouraging them to embrace every opportunity with resilience and grit.
But you know, that's the point. We don't know where an opportunity will take us until we dive in and take the opening presented to us. Many doors will be opened to us over our lifetimes. It's up to us whether we go through those doors and take the opportunity, or perhaps challenges that that door brings.
As Bishop Dr. Gideon Titi Ofer begins his tenure, the expectations are high, but so is the hope for a future built on vision, integrity, and impact. Maxwell, a Club 2's report, read to you.
In other stories, GN Bank was among 23 other banking institutions at the short end of the stick in August 2019, losing its license to operate after it failed to meet regulatory requirements of Ghana's Apex Bank. However, speaking in an interview during the second congregation of the Indum School of Business and Technology, where he is the chairman of the school's governing board, Dr. Indum revealed that 4 banking branches are near completion, which will serve students as an avenue for practical competence in banking, should his banking license be reinstated.
25 students were conferred degrees and diplomas, while 62 fresh students matriculated during the second congregation and fourth matriculation ceremony of the Indum School of Business and Technology. In an interview, the chairman of the governing board of the school, Dr. Papakwesi Indum, acknowledged the significance of the second congregation and commented on the reinstatement of his banking license, which he shares will give room for practical proficiency in banking.
University, for a private college, for a private school, there's always the temptation for people to think or believe that maybe you'll come here for a brief period and then go away. So for us to continue to have the congregations, to continue to admit students, and the numbers, keep going up. We're taking our time to build, to strengthen. So seeing an occasion like this, we believe should give assurance to the public, to those looking for higher learning, to know that the Indum School of Business and Technology is here, will continue to be here. It will progress, and we are even now looking forward to getting our own charter so that it will be clear to in everybody's mind that it will become, and it is, as a university. We are expecting our license back. And as soon as that happens, we're not just going to use the building and the facilities for teaching, but there will be practical experience for people to know how to do all aspects of banking.
The rector of the Indum School of Business and Technology, Reverend Professor Daniel Ijepo, had some advice for the graduates, emphasizing the importance of incorporating French language as a compulsory course in the school.
The education we give our students here is very unique. Unique in the sense that even though everybody is doing banking and finance in most of the universities, over here, we teach our students French. It is compulsory. You get into the banking hall, a customer will come who does not speak English and may want somebody to help him or her understand what is going on, or at least relate to you as a customer. French is very important to us because all our countries, the countries around us, are all French speaking. So we need to be very much intentional about teaching our graduates the French language.
From Elmina, Abigail Lissel in Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association in the Ashanti region has rejected an appeal by the Health Ministry for the group to rescind a decision to strike from June the 2nd. The association is demanding the implementation of a collective bargaining agreement outlining their conditions of service, accusing the ministry of delaying a process already agreed upon. Now, the association says the strike will proceed if the agreement remains unimplemented. We'll tell you more here.
A statement from the Ministry of Health appealed to the leadership of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association to reverse its decision to embark on an industrial action following delayed implementation of a reviewed conditions of service that was scheduled to take effect in 2024. According to the ministry, it was agreed that a committee comprising representatives from the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health be established to continue the process. However, members of GRNMA in the Ashanti region feel indifferent, saying clear commitment has not been demonstrated for implementation. Regional Chairman Jones Efri Anto questioned the relevance of the committee on an already established agreement. He was speaking at the 2025 Nurses Week celebration in Kumasi.
What we are talking about is not negotiation. What we are talking about is signed, sealed, delivered condition of service. That was signed May 2024, exactly a year today. It is 1 year old condition of service we are talking about. We are not negotiating. If we are negotiating, that is different. That is why you can come that what we were about agreeing with the old government, you didn't like it, and so let's negotiate again. This is signed.
Mr. Efri Anto insists enough consideration has been given to the government to effect the implementation, hence the association's resolution to strike.
So the strike plan is still on? Oh, the plan is on. The only thing that can stop the plan is government writing to start implementation.
For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
Well, that takes us right into our business update now with Benjamin Akapo.
The major oil marketing companies have started reducing the prices of petroleum products at the pumps. George Weafe of the Joy business team has the rest of the story.
Allied, for instance, has reduced a litre of petrol from 12 Ghana cedis, 65 pesos, to 12 Ghana cedis, 15 pesos. But this happened on Wednesday. A litre of diesel is going for 13 Ghana cedis, 35 pesos. The adjustment by Allied is way ahead of the June 1, 2025 that all the oil marketing companies should reduce their prices as part of the current price deregulation policy. Other major oil marketing companies have told Joy Business that they will reduce their prices at the pumps, but this would happen from Monday. However, they were silent on the marginal reduction. Some of the oil marketing companies have told Joy Business that the reduction has been influenced by the continuous sharp appreciation of the cedi against the dollar.
Well, from the reduction in fuel prices, let's talk about more reductions, because the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association is calling for a reduction in the prices of cement and other building materials in response to the recent appreciation of the Ghana cedi. Now, President of the association, Dr. James Orleans Lindsay, emphasized that manufacturers and suppliers should adjust their prices downward to reflect the strengthening currency, easing the financial burden on Ghanaians, especially those building or purchasing homes. Dr. Orleans Lindsay made the appeal during a stakeholder engagement session with the Ghana Revenue Authority, where he spoke to Joy Business about the need for market responsiveness to current trends.
The rules are that you don't price in US dollars. You price, a client should pay the equivalent in cedis at the prevailing exchange rates. It is clear, it is the rule, it is the law. Dollarization of the economy is frowned upon and is actually an offense. So we are saying that we will continue to price in the equivalent, the cedi equivalent at the prevailing cedi rate. But then prices of cement, iron rods, all our components should come down as the cedi appreciates, so that we can then maintain our because you see, as we speak now, 100,000 cedis, dollars worth of property now is basically 900,000 cedis from the all-time high of 1.6 million. So, but no developer has changed the price to date. The developer is losing, but we are still buying cement at that high rate in cedis, and that is why we are saying, please suppliers, please subcontractors, come down with your cedi equivalent because we have not changed our prices. That is all I'm saying. So I'm not saying anything new. I'm not changing the goalposts. We are saying calm down because we take components from you to form a house, for want of a simple word. And if now the price has moved to 9 cedis and cement is still at 120, 118, what do we do? So the developer is slowly running itself into a ditch.
And those are our business updates for you this morning, from the calls for the reduction of prices of fuel to cement and other building materials. But stick and stay, because in just a bit we'll be serving you sports, and definitely in there, perhaps one of the weirdest UEFA Champions League finals you would have seen. Paris Saint-Germain thrashing Internazionale Milan in that UEFA finals clash. We'll bring you that together with sports in a bit. Do stay.
We bring you sports now on the AM show with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. And over the weekend, hooliganism once again took center stage in the Ghana Premier League venue. Nations FC, who were at the summit of the Premier League table, traveled to Basaka to come up against Holly Stars on March Day 33 of the Ghana Premier League. That game had to be abandoned because of this incident where players and supporters, as well as officials of both teams, were seen throwing punches at each other, forcing the match day referee to call off the game and reschedule it to take off later today. However, Nations FC, they have said that they will not partake in the match, which have been rescheduled to later today, because they believe that security, as promised by the home club, was not provided, contrary to the new match day protocols, which were put together by the Ghana Football Association following the death of Kumasi Asante fan Nana Pole Frimpong on February 2 in their match between Ishatruman FC, now defunct, against Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Let's take a look at the statement that has been put out by Nations FC, explaining why they have decided that they will not play the match later today. And this is the statement where it says that Nations FC has taken the difficult decision not to continue our match against Basaka Holy Stars due to a series of unacceptable incidents that undermined the integrity of the game and the safety of our personnel. The decision is based on the following key issues. It says poor officiating. The level of officiating was extremely poor and fell below the expected standard. This compromised the fairness and credibility of the match, raising serious concerns about the integrity of the competition. Number 2 is security concerns. It says that our president, Mr. Divine Che Boedu, and chairman, Dr. Kwame Che, were physically assaulted by home supporters. This hostile and violent conduct created an unsafe environment for our players, technical team, and officials. It goes on to say that inadequate security personnel, and it says pre-match agreements stipulated the deployment of 70 police officers for adequate security. However, fewer than 20 officers were present on the day, leaving our team and supporters vulnerable and exposed. It goes on to claim disrespect of our supporters, where it says that despite holding valid match tickets, our fans were unjustly denied entry into the stadium. This act of discrimination and disrespect is unacceptable and contrary to the spirit of fair play and sportsmanship. It also claims media obstruction, where their accredited club videographer, who had full authorization from the Ghana Football Association, was prevented from recording the match by both supporters and officials of the home team with the apparent support of the match commissioner. We strongly condemn these actions and call on the Ghana Football Association and all relevant stakeholders to investigate these incidents and take the appropriate disciplinary
and regulatory measures. The safety, dignity, and fairness owed to every club official and supporter must be upheld at all times. That is a statement released by Nations FC following the Ghana Premier League Day 33 game against Basaka Holy Stars. And by the decision of Nations FC to withdraw not to participate in this game, per the regulations governing Ghana football, clearly states that they would have to forfeit the match unless, of course, at the time of abandoning the game, they were leading more than 3 goals. We've been trying to get the club to react to this development. However, our efforts have proved futile. As and when we get them, we'll be sharing those details with you in our subsequent bulletins. But still on Ghana Premier League, where the likes of Accra Lions, they have been relegated from the top flight of the competition after they suffered a defeat against Dreams FC. Accra House of Oak also defeated Legon Cities, already relegated from the top flight of the Ghana Premier League. Kumasi Asante Kotoko won 3-2 against Midiama SC. We'll bring you those results right now before we go and bring you highlights of how Ghana placed third in their Unity Cup game against Trinidad and Tobago. So these were the results of the Ghana Premier League match day 33, where Kumasi Asante Kotoko won 3-2 against Midiama FC. Legon City sat at home and lost 2-0 to Accra House of Oak. Brekum Chelsea, they were also at home and they lost 2-3 to Bibiana Gold Stars. And some section of the media are claiming that the Ghana Football Association should investigate this game because prior to kick off, about 2 hours to kick off, they had seen the result, which said it was going to end 2-3 in favor of Bibiana Gold Stars. And Brekum Chelsea player, Steven Mankona, was going to score 2 goals. And indeed, these things happened. And now they are demanding the Ghana Football Association to investigate because they believe that the match or the outcome of the match was compromised. As I mentioned to you, Basaka Holy Stars and Nations FC, that game was abandoned. Kerala United, they won 3-0 against Young Apostles. Accra Lions lost 2-0 to Dreams FC, and they've been relegated from the top flight. They qualified in 2020-2021, and now they are going back to Division 1. Samatex, defending champions of the Ghana Premier League, won 2-1 against Aduana Stars. We've got all these match reports on my joyonline.com. To the Unity Cup in London, where Ghana placed third after defeating Trinidad and Tobago by 4-0.
Ayew, fabulous hit, and they've made that bright start count. Jordan Ayew made that look easy. When you're cheap turnover, there's the space. Made that look so routine. At the post, Ayew with another corner. Busy 6-yard box, and it's right in there, and it's 2! What a wonderful moment. 2-0 down against Jamaica and fought back, but this is super early to be 2 down. And he's found Ayew, beautifully moved. What a goal this would be, what a goal it is. For Garner looking for number 4 here, and Ayew is in the middle, and they've got number 4. Didn't need a touch from Ayew either. I think that's gone through the keeper with a bit of a touch via Agyekum, who with a cheeky smile has at least helped Ghana to an unassailable 4-goal lead. In a curious way for Ghana to open up the lead even more. Yeah, it's not convincing, and closer inspection is not going to Jabari Santa.
Cyril Dessers comes it on towards Simon, who scores. Didn't take long. Nigeria in front in the final, thanks to their skipper Moses Simon, in the right place to apply the finishing touch there. Some good work from Cyril Dessers, who opened the scoring in the semi and has turned provider this time. Came from halfway. It was close to offside, wasn't it, against Cyril Dessers, who delivered dangerously. And Simon was just first to react, really, reaching it ahead of Lembekisa and applying the finishing touch, having done so right into the corner. Their turn to attack. Instead, with Ronaldo Cephas. Really dangerous ball in. Davis arriving and touched in by Kahim Dixon. 1-1 and a huge roar. It is indeed that plays it forward here, looking for Cyril Dessers. Comes it on towards Simon, who scores. Didn't take long. Nigeria in front in the final, thanks to their skipper Moses Simon. To attack instead with Ronaldo Cephas. Really dangerous ball in. Davis arriving and touched in by Kahim Dixon. 1-1. On debut here, Simon. Certainly not short of experience, still scrapping for it. Comes for Chukwueze. He's outnumbered but gets his shot away and scores. Good by King. Here's Cephas. They've made the run for him. Still Ronaldo Cephas. He's able to deliver the cross, and they've levelled it again. And he scores emphatically again. It's a really good penalty. Nacho also scores. Went the same way. Again, the goalkeeper went the other way. Morrison from the spots also scores into the corner. And also scores in off the post this time. And he's hit the bar. The first to miss from the spot. Dwayne Atkinson can't convert for Jamaica, and that could be so costly. Uche does score, and Nigeria win the Unity Cup. On debut, he scores from the spot to settle the shootout. And the Super Eagles have done it. They've done it the hard way, but they have the trophy. Unity Cup final.
Nigeria champions of the Unity Cup 2025. Let's hear from Ghana coach Oto Ado, who says that he has some questions on his mind about some players, and those questions have been answered following this Unity Cup.
Yeah, I'm satisfied. I think we did well, especially in the first half. Second half we slowed down a little bit, but still created some chances. I think we could have scored some more. There was one situation in the first half where we were a little bit lucky, but I think in all it was a well-deserved win.
You've had some big players missing this week, Kudus, Semenyo, Partey in particular, but you've had the likes of Feseni and Thomas Asante to come in and take their chance. How pleased are you with that?
Yeah, in general, I think we got a lot of answers. It's always good to also look for the future, and I think some of the boys used their chances. They did really, really well, and surely we will continue to observe them. And for us, we played well in the last World Cup qualifiers, so the others who were not there, they also did well. So this makes the job hard for me at the end.
The Rep Your Jersey, which took place at the Aviation Social Center, my colleague Razak Musbau is wrapping up AM Sports this morning with a special report from the center.
The event brought together fans dressed in colorful jerseys representing their favorite clubs and countries in a lively celebration of football culture and entertainment. From the start of the day, there was non-stop excitement. 5-a-side football games, FIFA video game contest, photo opportunities and music from top DJs kept the energy high. HFM presenters like Dr. Pounds, DJ Slim, McRae and Dusty and DJ Black kept fans engaged with giveaways and fan challenges. The biggest highlight of the night came with a live viewing of the UEFA Champions League final between Paris Saint-Germain and Inter Milan. The crowd watched with intense anticipation as PSG secured a historic 5-0 win, claiming their first ever Champions League title.
UEFA Champions League winners, Luis Enrique has done it. Luis Enrique has done it. It's a trouble for PSG. The league, the cup, the Champions League, and they've done it in style.
PSG, Papa PSG, amazing. Allez, 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 allez. Wow, we are done it. We are done it again. How did you come up with that? Massa, it's by his grace. It's by his grace. We did it another time again. I know you wanted PSG to win, but did you see them winning by 5 goals to 0?
We did.
You dreamt about it?
I dreamt about it. And so it has happened.
Wow.
PSG all the way.
Mom, have you had fun today?
Yes, exactly. I've had fun.
You're going to be back here next year, God willing.
God willing. We'll be here.
No. Inter didn't try at all. We the Madrid. We know if you do this thing. Wow. It be same give this thing. It be same. We know if you do this thing. Wow. No. Wow.
What are you talking about? This is our first win. And we don't joke for a year. You know
wow.
What I mean? We've been fighting. We lost our best player last season and it was shameful. But we showed them that this year we are the best team in Europe and the best team in the world. We play good football and we are not joking. This will keep talking. And we are not joking in the world.
You're not joking in the world. You're not joking in the world. You're not joking. Come on, PSG.
After the match, the party didn't stop. A massive jams session took over, with DJs turning up the heat and fans dancing late into the night. The vibe was electric, and many attendees were heard asking for an after-party, wishing the event wouldn't end. The 2025 Hit Up and Rep Your Jersey proved once again why it's one of the most anticipated football lifestyle events in Ghana, with the organizers promising a much better event next year.
Well, in December, we have a new event coming up in December on the 24th. I'm not going to give a lot of details, but trust that on the 24th of December, we have a big event coming up for those who were born in the year 2000. That is the only thing I can tell you. But next year, it's going to be more bigger than this. Yeah.
Amazing. So that's the team from Hit FM expecting a bigger event next year and even more exciting event before the end of the year. From me and the entire George Sports team, it's been fun here at the Aviation Social Center, and of course, we are looking forward to next year.
Welcome back to the AM Show. The AM Show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. And here's a question we keep asking you. If you're thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in, then Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit in Accra. You want to invest in the latest development, Willow Lane, where elegance meets tranquility. We provide quality housing at affordable costs with flexible payment options, in addition to 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. Give us a call on these numbers, 0240 111 119 or 0504 499 999. You can also visit our website on www.waylead.org. So, it's Monday, and there's so many stories captured in the various newspapers. We're about to review them. My guest joining me in studio this morning, Victoria Bright. She's a lawyer, entrepreneur, and former legal advisor to former President Kufuor. We also have Mustafa Gbande. He is Deputy Director of Operations at the Office of the Presidency. And of course, Dr. James Kwabena Bonfe Jr. He's the CEO of Census and a lecturer at UPSA. Gentlemen and lady, welcome to the AM Show News Review segment.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it's a Monday, and usually we give our guests 2 minutes at most to walk us through any reflections they may have on a topical issue. Mustafa, since we haven't seen you in a long time, I'll just start with you.
Why don't you start with Prof?
Because we listened to Prof on Saturday on Newsfile, so, yeah, so it's your time now. So let's start with you.
Well, I mean, this morning has been a good day. I'm glad that there are no floods yet. And also, I'm looking forward to proper law enforcement. You know, today we are supposed to be receiving kind of a letter into the country to fulfill and give fidelity to what he had promised to do, to appear before the special prosecutor to answer to his stewardship. And I believe that it's one thing all of us must be prepared to do. Because once you walk into a public space or any office serving the public, you should be ready to answer to your actions and the legacy you have left. Beyond that, I also think that I'm looking forward for the MPP to put politics aside, approach diplomacy, make use of wisdom to ensure that they secure a bail for a colleague, their chairman, regional chairman, who is currently languishing with the BNI, only because he has not been able to secure sureties to a bail condition. If they had placed politics aside and approached what we all know as procedure, I'm sure that Untumi would have been out. So he's only there because the MPP chose to use that as a platform to either accuse themselves or to revive their visibility.
Okay.
And so everybody walks to, Yoko, and then the cameras pick them only to let Ghanaians know that they are still alive. And so that's not how to deal with some of these. So I'm looking forward for them to put aside politics and really deal with the issues for us to move on.
Right, thank you. But you do, I don't know if you know, we are hearing that from confirmed sources that Kenneth Oretta will not be physically present tomorrow. Today is 2nd June. He will not be physically present due to some unexpected deterioration in his health condition. Has that come to your attention?
That would be an unfortunate development.
Yeah.
And again, that would be the minority's credibility further dwindling. Because if you recall, the same Apenyo Markins came out, loud and said, oh, no, you didn't have to worry. Somebody who was sick, I will ensure that I present him, the minority will present him to special prosecutor on this day. And so if that is the case, it gives the special prosecutor no choice. And I won't take the spoon out of their mouth. We all know what the obvious would be. It would be an unfortunate situation.
Okay.
If Kenneth Oretta didn't make his way to the country.
So let's see how the day unfolds. It is 2nd June after all.
Of course.
Vicky Bright, what are you sharing with us this morning?
Well, a disturbing thing that I heard today, I think Joy FM is about to do a whole expose on it, on mothers bleaching their babies, and also people taking pills when they are pregnant because they believe that the child will come out lighter skinned. I mean, this is extremely, disturbing, and it's, you are making these drastic decisions on behalf of a baby who doesn't have a choice in the matter. And it should be a criminal offense because it can cause cancer,
That's an interesting one. It should be a criminal offense.
Yes, it should be.
Yeah.
I think if there's a formal offense and a punishment, it will focus the minds of some of these mothers. And also there should be education in these communities. So maybe some of our public health professionals should be engaging mothers in these communities to educate them about what they're doing, because they feel that there's something wrong with their children. Yeah. I mean, we're black. We come in all shapes, all sizes, all colors. And we're all, it's all beautiful, So I think people should understand that the coloring of your skin tone does not have any impact on who you are as a black man or a black woman.
It's rather sad, isn't it?
It's very sad and very disturbing.
To such extreme lengths to bleach your skin.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, and babies, I mean.
Yeah. Anyway.
Shocking.
Dr. Bonfe, your take now.
So I want to dwell on the two submissions and talk on two critical things: education and value system bordering on identity. Who are we? And what are we aspiring? What is guiding us? And where are we headed? We just ended the month of May, and that is Africa Union Month. And it always brings to memory the pioneering role Ghana played through our founding president, Kwame Nkrumah, in driving the African personality. And it ties in with what Vicky just said. What is it about skin pigmentation? Black is beautiful. Steve Biko highlighted that. And why would you want to assume a different skin pigment than that which nature endowed you with? It's all resultant from a loss of identity or an identity crisis of not knowing who we are and what we are here for. Life here is to achieve or work towards a certain purpose. Does it really matter what your color pigmentation is? Or why do you think you were born in this part of the world? And why we look the way we look? Yeah. And so I want to conclude with a very profound statement that Osagyefo made in his book, Africa Must Unite, that we need a new type of citizen, especially in this present age and time. An informed, honest, modest person who sees his or her greatness in the humility that they manifest. And their integrity shows the strength that they have. And of course, Dr. Buzia, in seconding the motion that accepted the Queen Elizabeth's speech at independence on March 6, 1957. That's something that was also profound in that same line. That to build a nation, we needed the attributes of restraint, respect, integrity, honesty, and service to humanity. We should all be guided by that. And whether it is security persons who are doing their work or whoever, let us remember that the best way of fighting crime is often in the quiet and not in noise.
Thank you so much for those thoughtful reflections. I thought that here in this part of the world, we are all black people. Yeah. And we shouldn't discriminate against each other based on the skin type or the coloration. If you were somewhere in the Western world, you want to be white like them because, of course, there's racism and all that. But right here in Ghana, we're bleaching our babies. I'm really shocked. But stay with us because right after the news review, that is the very first issue we'll be discussing. We'll bring you that hotline documentary, Bleached Babies. So you want to stay with us and watch the full video right here. So let's get into the newspapers. I'll start with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, e-VAT system, GRA signs on 3,000 businesses, 5,000 more prepared to onboard. And Zoom Lion signs waste management deals in 3 countries. Government supports Ghana bauxite companies' smooth operation. And on the ban on drumming and noise making, GPCC raises concern over harassment and calls for stakeholder dialogue. I want to start from GRA. So the Ghana Revenue Authority has brought onto its electronic value-added tax system over 3,000 taxpayers since its inception in 2022. The authority says it held a series of talks with more than 5,000 taxpayers across the country last year, and those entities were all ready for the onboarding. And I think just last week or so, we saw an article also in the Daily Graphic that said that after 2 years of introducing this new e-VAT system, it's just a handful out of the tens of thousands of eligible businesses who were actually on board the system. Some were even using the system to evade taxes and all. And so this is the first story that I want us to discuss. Let me put a pin in it and add 2 major stories to it. On the back page, Hearts beats Legon Cities. This is for football. Amwa hat-trick keeps Kotoko title hopes alive. So there's a story here about the ban on drumming and noise making, and it concerns all of us because we're all here in Accra. So the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council has expressed concern and displeasure over how the ban on drumming and noise making is being enforced by a task force of the Ghana Traditional Council in parts of the Greater Accra region. It said while the GPCC recognized and respected the cultural heritage, customs and traditions of the Ghana people, especially the annual observation of this, quote, we are disturbed by the increasing reports of intimidation, harassment, and in some cases, the unlawful entry, assault, and disruption of church services by certain individuals purporting to be members of the task force. The last story I want to add to this is Parliament approved 10.10 billion Ghana cedis for National Health Insurance Authority in 2025. The story actually starts from page 3. So Parliament has approved 10.10 billion Ghana cedis for the year 2025, along with a distribution formula to enable the National Health Insurance Authority to undertake its activities earmarked for the year. The amount is almost 4 billion Ghana cedis more than the 6.87 billion that was allocated to the National Health Insurance Fund for its programs and activities for last year. Let me start with Mustafa Bande. What are your thoughts on these three stories? The ban on drumming and the harassment that people are reporting, EVAT system, GRA onboarding 3,000 businesses, waiting for 5,000 more to onboard. And I think the other story I did was Parliament approval of National Health Insurance Authority, 10 billion. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me start on where my brother, landed. I think that it's important that we acknowledge that the people of Ghana deserve some level of transparency and knowledge and information as far as governance is concerned. Okay. And this is so important in our time because of misinformation, distortion of information, and also diversion of information. Sometimes you get people digressing all the facts and all of that. I am confident that today the collapsed National Health Insurance is seeing some light. And you see, irrespective of whichever political party you are, the National Health Insurance as a policy was a relief. It takes away a lot of burden from the ordinary Ghanaian. That is where, or what keeps our mothers, our sisters, who cannot afford.
Yeah.
In the last few years, it was virtually a white elephant that has collapsed, where people go to hospitals and claims were not paid to the hospitals on behalf of the people by government. In the last few months, I've seen Dr. Banfo and his team pay off some of the debts of National Health Insurance just to ensure that the place is revamped, expanded, to ensure that the purpose for which National Health Insurance was established is back again to serve the people of Ghana. And I'm very happy to see that coming up. And so I don't have a question at all as to how much they deserve, to ensure that our mothers in the villages, the taxpayer, actually takes their card and go to the hospital, and the facilities are willing and more than willing to take care of them and give them quality service. It again beholds for us to also look at responsibility of health workers as far as ensuring that we strengthen National Health Insurance is concerned, because the one major problem is that people go to the hospitals, whether cash or with National Health Insurance, and the kind of treatment, the kind of relationship you get from the health workers, trust me, is nothing to write home about. Now, on this VAT issue, I have always been very worried that government as an entity only strives on tax. There are two kinds of people when it comes to managing the tax regimes. People who actually evade tax because they know the system, and people who are ignorant of the tax operationability. There are many business owners in this country who don't even understand the tax regime, let alone comply. And so if you have a system where today GRA is restructuring to go, digital, where you can sit based on what you do daily, your tax computation becomes determined. And that by the end of the year, you would have actually finished paying your tax obligation because it's known to you. One, it improves some governance and expenditure efficiency because government will be able to do what it has to do. And it also brings about sealing of all the loopholes that people take advantage. Because the in-person filing of tax and determining of tax figures is always a problem, where the taxpayer meets with a tax officer to determine tax values. It's always a problem in this country. So when we get to this level where we're actually going an EVAT system, I think that is good for country, it's good for all of us, but also the tax agencies have a responsibility to educate every single business owner properly to understand how the VAT regime is going to operate, including other elements of tax.
Okay.
Now, the other issue was on...
ban on drumming.
You know, this issue is one that is very sensitive because it borders on culture,
True.
Beliefs, and all of that. There's also the fact that is it the first time we are enforcing cultural values when you go to other part of the country where government business is not there. They still enforce, but you don't see the challenges in the enforcement because really government business is not there. People are not busy there, and it happens. So if you are enforcing a cultural value in the Volta region or Northern region or in Bono region, the degree of violation will not be as much as you see in Accra because people are compelled to do business. People are compelled to move. People are compelled to do other. But we also have to get to the point where we say, okay, those are our landlords. We are on their land, and we have to respect their cultural value. But I think that we have come to a point where there should be some level of stakeholder engagements with the chiefs as far as the ban on noise is concerned.
In general, we acknowledge them as the landlords.
Yes.
And we try to respect this cultural tradition that they have. But if they have a task force entering churches without permission, scattering things, unplugging things, harassing people, assaulting church members, I think that's a serious issue that we should not take light.
That one is a case, I know Madam is a lawyer, is a case of blatant violation of probably the law, because whether or not you have the power to go enforcing that against the public is another matter.
Okay.
But if there were any group of people who violated that cultural value, as at last week, it was my brothers in the MPP, blatantly disregarded that ban. Every single noise, major noise, the whole of last week in this country was from the MPP.
Okay.
Not just mean persons within the MPP, but the minority group in Parliament who brought all the noise that we experienced in this country the whole of last week.
Dancing?
Noise. It was noise. It was a form of, gathering. More than even what the churches are doing. Even with the churches, there are many churches who go and they have soundproof, elements within their building, and so you will not even hear them worshiping. These people actually gathered.
Okay, let me take the wind out of your sail there. Vicky, is there a law that actually empowers these task forces from the Ghana Traditional Council or the Ghana State to be doing what they're doing?
I don't know. I'm a Ghana, so
okay. So I mean,
should be biased.
You can argue from both sides for us. Then.
So that's the starting point. I have to declare my interest in upholding our cultures.
Okay.
I'm a Ghana from Jamestown, so so I believe that our traditions have to be respected.
Of course.
Over the years, because this is the capital, our culture has been eroded to quite a significant extent. And I think Ghanaians believe that it's time to reclaim our culture back and to stand firm on certain things. I mean, after all, this is the one thing left that we do. Of course, I don't agree with people, entering churches and violently disrupting church services and all that. But equally, I think the basic tenet of respect has to be there. Because if you are respecting what you're supposed to be doing, then there will be no need for anyone to come in.
Come after you.
Exactly. Allegedly, trying to enforce things and taking the law into their own hands, which obviously is not desirable. So I think for me, it's a question of respect. So let our cultures be respected as Ghanaians, please.
But if we do find someone culpable of this, alleged assault and battery, and what happens then?
I mean, assault is assault. The law
so
is very
we can
clear
take it up.
on that.
The law can,
Yes, if you go and assault someone, whether it's in a church or whatever name you use to actually assault the person, it is a criminal offense in this country. So. So let's not do that, and let's not also force people's hands. I'm not justifying it. I'll never justify crime, but let's not also push people to act out of frustration.
All right.
Now, on the other, I think the NHIA was the other thing. Yes, I think I commend that because, look, it's something that was put in place and it worked for a while and then it completely deteriorated to the extent that people did not have the assurance of medical care when they were ill on the basis of holding their card, their national health insurance card. And so the gap is so wide that if we're going to start, if the government is starting with 10 billion, I think it's great. I hope they find the money to do so. Because healthcare, you know, healthcare is paramount. Without our health, we don't have anything, you know. So I think for me, anything to boost healthcare provision in this country or accentuate it in any way, I think I will support that, you know. And also with GRA signing on these 3,000 businesses, look, we all know that the tax net has to be widened because the problem is that the same 3% or whatever the percentage is these days of us who pay taxes is the same people that keep paying and paying and paying. And it's quite difficult, you know. So, and it's actually quite, it can be quite debilitating. So I think we need to think outside the box. We need to widen the net, not just through rhetoric, but actually do something that will widen the net. It's great that GRA is dialoguing with businesses. They should not be seen by you and I and businesses, especially small businesses, which make up the majority of our economy, as an instrument of torture, which is what we all started feeling it was becoming. You know, true. Under the previous administration.
Especially the creative industry. You could be on stage as a stand-up comedian performing, and GRA officials would just bump in and ask for a percentage.
So they should not be seen to be that. They should be seen to be working with businesses and with all of us as Ghanaian taxpayers. So I commend them, and I think they need to do more stakeholder engagement and more dialoguing with all of us who are taxpayers.
Okay. Doug. So from 6.87 billion Ghana cedis to 10.10 billion Ghana cedis. That is what was approved from Parliament for the NHIA. Both of them are commending. Are you agreeing or do you have any differing opinions?
Oh, no. I think that health insurance is an important part of our national life that was introduced you know, under His Excellency former President Kufuor. And its management has not been without issues over time. And as to how we have learned as a people to deal with the recurrent challenges is another matter. But anything that records an increase or progress made in the activities of NHIA and NHIS, for me, is a plus that we must all applaud. What is more important is the issues of accountability. And I'll link that to the issue of broadening the tax net and dealing with the revenue leakages that you emceed a while ago at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, where I had the rare opportunity to humbly represent His Excellency, former President Kufuor. And his speech highlighted a number of things. He told us of the need to educate and inform, and I think that's what Vicky mentioned. You cannot have a tax regime or revenue mobilization that does not run with information. The oxygen of publicity must be available, and everybody must know what they are paying, what their taxes are being used for, and the benefits therein. And inherent in there is also the issue of, you know, fleecing the goose that laid the golden egg. There's a small percentage of Ghanaians who are in the formal sector, and it does appear that is over time the bigger or the people, you know, carry the burden of revenue and taxes. Meanwhile, the entire country in terms of the work population is informal. So broadening it and bringing in 3,000, and we are told that 5,000 more are coming on board, is the way to go. And that is why the introduction of the National Identity Register was critical. That we digitized and ensure that whatever transaction I engage in, there is a record, and at least whatever component of tax I have to pay on it is paid. And then to avoid leakages. The leakages come with what His Excellency former President Kufuor told us, that if you don't pay people living wages and you tax them on the scanty wages that you give them, they will find a way to make ends meet. And that's where corruption come about. And that is why the single spine salary structure was introduced. Unfortunately, its implementation was delayed, and at the time that we implemented it, it came with problems. As we speak, there are salary iniquities that the Professor Ntia Mwabedu Committee Report 2020 highlighted. And that is why sometimes we get very much wild when salaries of political appointees and other things come up. But it's a matter that we all need to have a conversation about, and we need to be very sincere. We need to be frank, and we need to be courageous to confront the issue. The last one, which is the religious matter, I think it's a clash of religions. But quickly, in this country, if you look at Article 11, customary law and practice is part of the legal regime of this country. And sometimes we tend to want to overlook our customary laws and practices. They are a part of us. What I want us to consider is, why do we have a ban on noise making and drumming and those things within the cultural setting of the Gans in Greater Accra? It's not only the Gans. Every culture in this country has a period where they say that, no, this period, you don't go to this period, you don't go to set places, you don't go to those places, so that we will sanitize. It is in respect of sustainability that we need to be in sync with nature, the immutable laws of nature. And how are we dealing with that? Now you are a church elder, a church pastor, and you feel that you can flout a traditional ban because you are a contemporary religious person in breach of the traditional religious practices, not imported, but indigenous.
You know, they say that your right ends where one...
Hold on. So I'm raising the issue.
You finish your point.
So that for me is needless provocation by the churches. Needless provocation. As for where Mustafa Bandi veered into, I will not. He will meet his MPP friends when they get there. But you know, when you do that, it's needless provocation. However, no matter how provoked you are, I don't also subscribe to the traditional authorities taking the laws into their hands and going after people to, be violent. It's also wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right.
True.
This is not mathematics where -1 times -2 can become a positive. Right. So we need to condemn that. And I think that we can agree on maybe 3 words: sincerity, respect, and tolerance.
Okay.
SRT.
Even in mining communities, there's always a day when you're not allowed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the fishing communities have one.
And people respect
sure.
Exactly.
Are you suggesting then that the churches should go completely silent in this? It's just a 1-month duration, right?
Look,
the ban is just for a month. Are you saying that the churches should go
even
absolutely quiet?
In the church? I'm a Christian. In the church, there are periods where in the church decrees that everybody must go quiet in prayer. Silent prayer. There's a reason for it. I am saying that if you respect your religion and you respect your traditional practices and you respect the God you worship, why do you want to provoke another person's exercise of right within a secular state as ours? That is needless provocation. Okay. And I think that our, especially the charismatic churches, must learn. Most of the time it is these one-man churches. It is these
because
one-man
you're
churches.
forgetting that it's also a business for them.
Well,
you know,
for
the
me,
louder your noise or drumming and dancing,
yes,
the more
but there's
people
a limit.
know that there's some power in there.
There's a limit to which you must exercise that. Look, in 1928, in his book R.S. Rattray, Ashanti Law and Constitution, he makes a remarkable observation about the ancients making their laws according to the immutable laws of nature. And that at the time, those of their Western counterparts would cringe. They would cringe in despair if they came in contact with how our ancients lived in tune with nature. Okay. And that is why issues like famine and these things were largely avoided.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to other stories. Let me start with Vicky. Which paper do you have?
I have two, the News Center and the Daily Gist.
All right. Let's do the News Center. The stories we've done so far, human interest stories. I know that some of these papers have political stories, and then we can get into them as well. But let's start with the News Center.
The News Center. So so let me read the headlines first. Government to borrow 6.7 billion in Treasury bills auction. 50 million bill meant to silence and punish Wuntumi, says Baumia. Kumasi Tamale Airports extend operational hours. Dr. Angela emerges winner of MTN Heroes of Change season 7.
Congratulations to her. She's actually my next guest on Women Power Politics. It's guest on Thursday.
Okay.
Fantastic news.
Telcos to face fines and customer paybacks over poor service. And then there's a story that I actually want to cover. I think it's in here somewhere. About this fake doctor. And the reason why I want to cover it, the reason why I want to cover it is because it's become a thing in this country. There are too many people with fake qualifications, and the scariest part of all this is that they get away with it, and people just listen and say and smile and whatever and get on with their lives. But look, this is someone who is passing herself off as a medical doctor. We all know what doctors do. They look after us. They are responsible for lives, and this woman managed to worm her way up to the highest level. This is scary. This is scary. I myself went to be treated by a so-called chiropractor in this country who was very, very well known. I see her billboards everywhere, and I know she's not qualified, okay? Because in the end, if I hadn't had the means to go outside for treatment, this woman would have probably paralyzed me.
What?
And she's out there doing it every day, every time. People have complained, but Ghanaians,
Shall we name and shame?
Pardon?
Should we name and shame this person?
I don't think we should on this program. Okay. But I think people should just be careful. People should be careful. And she charges a lot of money,
Okay.
So for me, this is a subject that's very dear to my heart. We've seen that fake surgeons performing surgeries in some of our most eminent hospitals like Kolebu and all that. So something has to be done about this. Something has to be done. I don't think we should just raise our eyebrows again and say, oh my God, how did she do this and all that, and move on with our lives. I think the time has come for us to take this issue of fake qualifications very seriously, because this is now bordering on actually affecting human life and health. So
please pause here for me. Mustafa, how is it that this woman was able to get to, at the time, ex-President Mahama as a personal physician? I mean, I know there are security protocols, in place to vet people who are posing as medical officials. How did this happen? If in fact, is it first of all, is it true that she was the personal physician of President John Mahama when he was not in office?
I think that many people don't know President Mahama. He's a serious individual, and health is a very serious thing that he wouldn't put his hands or his life in this kind of drama. Whilst I cannot speak to private matters of the president, as far as who takes care of him is concerned, I have no knowledge to any extent that the lady was a personal physician to President Mahama at any point in time. Neither has any government spokesperson, individual closer to the president, made mention or referenced this lady as a personal physician to the president. I have only seen a post, whether it's true or not, I do not know, from her, congratulating the president and also saying that, she was a physician to the president. I mean, and I doubt, because that is coming from her. The same way she can hold a title when she doesn't have it, the same way you and I can fall victims of some of these schemes. But you see, I am happy. We've had people rise to the top only for us to get to know that they are fake. A thief is a thief. It doesn't matter what it is. And you will never know the construction of the mind. You will never know what is in somebody's mind until some of these things begin to come out. And so, one is a serious matter, particularly that one poses to be a medical doctor, not a professor or an academician, a medical doctor who comes in contact with human life. I was very happy. I wasn't here when the issue came up. In government, a lot of considerations lead people to be appointed. And of course, if she tells you what all of us knew prior to this revelation, you would have no basis to question whether she would be of a benefit to the National Health Insurance or not, where she was listed as a board member. And when the matter came up...
Are you saying there's no way of actually ascertaining, confirming the credentials?
No. When you are forming boards, you wouldn't have the time to move at that time to confirm everybody's credential.
But is that not a procedural gap?
It's something that obviously would have to happen during the period that you are either confirmed or you are a board member. But at the time of appointment, in fact, I could be ignorant. She was with President Kufuor. It has never been the case that at the board level, you do due diligence to the extent of verifying titles before you appoint people. Okay. If Professor Kwabena Bonfe, I know him to be a lecturer and a professor, all right? So I have known his substance. Should I go and be doing due diligence before appointing him to a board? That can't be the case. But the moment this matter came up, government took responsibility and withdrew this individual from, scandalously going to sit on the board. And I think that is commendable to a government that is willing to listen, a government that takes on board what society thinks and do at a particular point in time. And you see, governance is not only about government. Societal vigilance is also important. What we are doing here contributes to governance, where you take opinions and information that comes, along with commentators and conversations and discussions. That is why media is an important part of national security analysis, because some of the things you wouldn't know would come from the public themselves. And so once it comes, it's one thing covering up, two, standing by that wrong and defending it, and another, actually condemning it and acting in a manner society, expect, which is what President Mahama have done. Yes.
And just before my brother comes in, the cheek of it, they always pick like the best universities in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, this one, Johns Hopkins with a 4.0 GPA. I mean, what kind of madness? They always pick like Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, Yale, and they get away with it consistently. And it's not easy to get a degree, even if.
But Ghana have become a vigilant society.
Have we now?
Oh, there are so many.
Ghana has become a very vigilant society.
So many fake.
It's in a matter of time. If you portray who you are not, you will get exposed.
Are you sure, my brother?
We are just dealing with one now.
This is one person. The number of people who are hiding. This thing is very serious.
What can we do? Like, where do we begin to unravel, you know, the fakeness?
They have to be punished. Now we're told this woman has disappeared. How can she disappear?
You cannot disappear. We are even
disappear.
We even have cases where we are now to verify.
That's all and all that. She cannot just disappear from Ghana. I mean, what does that say about us?
No, she
and our
cannot
security
disappear.
forces. She has to be made an example of. And everybody who is caught has to be dealt with the full force of the law. There has to be a deterrence factor. Right now, it's zero. There's no punishment. So
I don't think she has disappeared. Anybody who says disappearance, I don't think she has disappeared.
Then let's find her. Let's flush her out or wherever she's hiding.
Well, it's your take now.
So let me start by issuing a disclaimer. I think that Mustafa and yourself, you may have been well intended, but I'm not a professor.
Oh.
Okay. I teach in a university, but I'm not a professor. Okay. Our universities.
I saw a PhD.
Yes, I have a PhD, so but it doesn't. That's where I'm coming. That in our country, our universities take titles seriously. Professor is a rank.
Okay.
In academia, unlike elsewhere where when you teach in the university, you are a professor in the university. In Ghana, it is not like that. When you are accorded the professor, it's a rank that you have attained. And I'm not there yet. So
I was always rendering.
I understand. Let me put that on record. But I think most importantly, she is not the only one, and I'm happy that my sister brought that up. There are people parading around in government circles with titles that they don't have.
So many of them. Too many.
Professions that they have not sat in any exam to work in, and you and I know. We have people who go about doing that. As for the claim that she was a physician to the president, when I read it, the first thing that came into my mind was influence peddling. Influence peddling.
Lying about that too.
Yeah, of course. To peddle influence.
Man is a very dangerous.
But it brings to the fore, Vicky, and you would be more conversant with this, a deficit in our intelligence substructure. Mustafa may have underestimated that. Appointments from the presidency are no joke.
Yes.
You've worked in the office of the president before.
Yes, I was very...
Before somebody is mentioned, even as an advisor, or the minutest appointee at the presidency, the thorough search that is done.
You have to.
That you have to go through. That is why you have got BNI, now NIB. That's why you have got Secret Service or National Security. That's why you have got CID. That is why you have got these. Some of them I have questions with their existence, like Yoko and OSP, by law. Because I think their creation was itself corruption in nature.
Where?
When you amend Article 88 without going through a public referendum. But that is a debate for another, for another matter. What I think why we have got to where we have got to is that Paul Ekman, 1985, wrote a book telling lies. And he makes an important point, that lies succeed on the acquiescence of those who consume the lies. No matter how sophisticated a lie is, if you listen and you peruse and you observe and you are critical, you poke holes in them. And the moment you start questioning, it will expose and unravel the lie. But most of us, we take people for granted. Oh, Mustafa is my brother. Vicky is my sister. I know her for so long. So whatever she's saying on radio, it might be the truth. Whatever she's saying on TV, it might be the case. So we run with them. In fact, to the extent that even in lecture rooms, professors and PhD holders lie about facts that if students fail to interrogate, they get away with it. I've seen some, I've experienced some. There are times when people will present facts that are not truthful. But that is why we need to interrogate and ask further questions. Look at the chain of activities about this lady. It's a shame.
TV programs.
It's a shame that this country sat down and allowed this girl to go about throughout. And listen to the chain. Her nomination came from the office of the president to the ministry. The government, through social media, and that's why you must not underestimate it. In today's age and time, intelligence gathering is also done through data mining on social media networks. These newspapers, they are an easy source for intelligence gathering. Then somebody blew the alarm that they have questions about this lady. It went round, the presidency said it was revoking her appointment, and indeed revoked her appointment. This was precedent or preceding the swearing in of the board. On the 26th of May, her name was still on the list. We are only told that she was not present, but the nominees who were sworn in by the ministry, at the ministry, included her. After the presidency had revoked her, go and check the sequence.
No, that cannot.
Don't dispute this, because the facts are there. Last week, we discussed this.
That cannot be true.
Bombandi, Mustafa.
Well, there's a fact that she did not appear.
Exactly. And I'm saying that her revocation...
When the authority on which
the dates,
invalidated...
These are the dates. These are the, listen, her nomination came on the 19th of May. The news item came out in between that period, and on the 22nd or 23rd of May, the presidency revoked her appointment. The swearing in was done on May 26th. And I'm telling you that
so that's
the
3
list,
days after.
3 days after.
You will agree.
And Mustafa, wait.
Let me let him finish.
The list at the ministry included her name. Only she was not present. The point I'm making is this. The communication and the coordination between the presidency and the ministry. Did it have to take much time?
Please pause here. Let me hear Mustafa out.
If you constituting a board in itself a board meeting.
Yes.
And inaugurating same is a board meeting. If an agenda was set,
yes,
say a week before all of these developments, notices have already been, sent to people. You will agree that on the paper where you have a list of these appointees, you wouldn't have gone to withdraw. Usually you go and withdraw and, recompile a new list. But to the extent that the authority that appointed this individual have been revoked and invalidated, to the larger extent, you cannot say that she was, inaugurated as a board member.
Did I say that?
No, that's not what he said.
He said
her name was still on the list of the nominees.
His name was on the list to the extent that it was only that
she wasn't present.
She wasn't. No, it's of no effect. Seriously, it's of no effect.
But he's saying that it's just 3 days after the scandal broke out. So, I mean,
of no effect.
Papers have been printed, documents have been printed already.
No, there is every evidence of a revocation.
Wait, you see, Mustafa, I just raised an issue that it calls for concerns within our governance system.
Yes.
You can argue it if you want. But I'm sitting here, and Vicky, correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody was nominated under President Kufuor's regime. His name went to Parliament for vetting. Issues came up. Immediately, what happened? Was his name not withdrawn? You see, these are issues that border on the integrity and seriousness that we attach to this matter. There is somebody whose credentials ought to have been detected right from day one. And I will show you how what Vicky said.
Can I just quickly do another one? Dr. Angela, I just want to talk about...
Can we stop calling... Oh, sorry. I thought we were...
That's a different person.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, this is a proper...
This is proper one.
This is a real one.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Dr. Angela, the MTN Heroes of Change award ceremony, fantastic, award ceremony by MTN is held annually. But I just wanted to give her a shout out because of what she does.
That's right.
The ARC Foundation. And for those who don't know, they support victims of domestic and sexual violence. And they provide legal aid, shelter, and counseling and advocacy for children and women who have been abused. And some of the things, they also do advocacy and for reform, legislative reform, I can't speak this morning, concerning things like FGM, female genital mutilation and child rights, etc., etc. Now, this is very, obviously, I'm a woman, it's something very dear to my heart, and I'm very passionate about children. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. Congratulations, Dr. Angela, for what you do, and also to MTN for holding this award every year.
Thank you. And I just want to say this is great promo for the interview airing on Thursday, guys. You have to watch it. She is our next guest on Women Power Politics, and she is the hero of change. What she does, I mean, that interview was so explosive. I won't. Let me tease you a bit. So you just watch it. The promo will come out today. Please,
I want to associate myself, even though I don't know her.
I don't.
Yes, I want to associate myself with that. And quickly to let my brother understand that when the government did the revocation, I applauded the government for doing that. And I'm raising the general issues. Look, you can underestimate it, but imagine the lady sitting on TV and on radio advising people medically.
I mean, it's so serious.
But it also calls for maybe more stringent approach to our licensure bodies and the rest. Because someone ought to have spotted that.
Somebody wrote to the, what's the name? Council of Medics or something.
Yeah.
To check.
Yeah, General Medical Council. Is she registered?
No.
Nobody checked.
But that is where they too...
but that is negligence. I mean, that's like a basic level of check. It's like the GBA. I mean,
we have to move on because in a few minutes we would have to talk about the labor export project that President mentioned, and those 2,000 people, the first batch of people who will be going abroad. So let's finish with some other papers. In a few minutes, we'll be speaking to the Labour Minister on that. So let me get into your paper, Mustafa. Which one do you have? We can only do one paper now.
I think I have one that raises a matter that is very controversial, and that says that an arrest of detention of Wuntumi is an attack on Ashantis. And also, having read 50 million bail meant to silence and punish Wuntumi, and that is not coming from any mean person, but the former vice president of the Republic of Ghana. And I'm not surprised that today, Nana Ado sits home and is convinced that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is not a person he wants to support to become a leader of the MPP again. Because day in, day out, his posturing continued to disappoint even the people who believe that he's a worthy politician to be a president of Ghana. You know, we all know, the first time I've been in sales was I have billed somebody, the person had traveled, there was a notice, mischievous complainant went back to the court to say the suspect have, absconded. The bail bond was being restricted and I was taken to court, even for the judge to take my plea. He mentions 4 million Ghana cedis. And this was about 2 p.m. And the surety was to be justified. I had to be in cells for the bail condition to be met the following day. The law is the law. That when law enforcement is ongoing, irrespective of who is involved, are we saying that those of us in politics are better human beings?
Okay, I have to rush
than the likes of Kobna Dufour, Asian and co, who were put before investigative bodies and had to be bailed with huge sums of money. And I dare say that if the MPP were searching for somebody with property worth 50 million to go and bail Wuntumi, they would have been able to do that within a time to prevent what is happening. Even to say that it's an attack on Ashantis, demonstrate how the MPP, the current crop of the MPP, continue to exploit tribal politics.
All right. Thank you. Point made on that. I'll come back to you when you have to, to comment on this. But I want to get one story from the custodian before we go to Zoom and talk to Dr. Rashid Pelpio. Doctor.
Yeah, I think essentially they are on these things: OSP, Oforata showdown looms, Yoku Tricks, Bawumia, MPP, over
same story.
Yes.
So we can take your quick views on that then.
You see, as a country, sometimes I think it's sad that we refuse to think when issues present us with the opportunity to reflect deeper into how we are mismanaging ourselves and running ourselves amok. the whole issue of arrest, bail regime, and the concomitant attachments in pursuit of justice and to stop wrongdoing. How have we interrogated them? The Supreme Court has made pronouncements on some of these issues. Is it true that we can use those as means to punish people needlessly? My answer is yes. Only last year, Daily Graphic published a list of 26 or more so people, I think about 50 something, under the Justice for All program,
Justice for All program,
who had been kept in remand for more than 20 years. It's a shame to
only
us
because
as a
of
people.
bail conditions.
Sometimes, what is the bail for? The law is very clear and explicit, Article 14(3).
Now we don't have non-bailable offenses.
Yes, of course, through the effort of Martin Pebu, we appreciate what he did at the Supreme Court, that no offense is non-bailable. And what does it mean? What it means is that when the security agency picks up somebody for investigative purposes, you can do that in a maximum of 48 hours or let the person go once your investigation continues. If you don't want to let the person go and you want to detain the person further, go to court and seek a blessing of the court to continue detaining that person. Is that what we are experiencing?
No, no.
Right.
And I don't care who it is.
No, but this matter,
it is about citizens of this country.
That law wasn't violated.
I'm saying,
yes.
Has Butubi been sent to court?
No. But he was granted a bail. He was granted a bail.
Please.
There was a bail granted.
Please.
But is this not a question we should
bail
be
was
asking his
granted.
lawyers? Why they haven't gone to file? There are some processes that
when you have lazy representation,
that you can file at the Supreme Court or any court.
I was quiet when you spoke. I mean, you see, this is what some of the we stifled debate.
No, I'm just saying that
we stifled debate, and it's not healthy for us.
I'm just correcting to say that law wasn't violated because Untumi was granted a bail.
So why is he still in?
He couldn't meet the bail condition, and you varied that in the court.
Don't talk about this briefly, and I'll come back to you to get your thoughts on this matter. So we know that government is set to export some 2,000 workers as the first batch of this initiative in the series of labor exports as part of an overall strategy to deal with the unemployment challenges facing the country. But the question we are asking is, can this be the game changer, and are there any negative or positive implications of such a move? Joining me on Zoom right now is Dr. Rashid Pelpio. He's the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, great. So we know that several countries have implemented this labor export program to address domestic unemployment and boost economic growth. But the question on many Ghanaians' mind is the protection of citizens when they go abroad on this initiative. So what specific measures will the government implement to protect Ghanaians when they go abroad?
Oh, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to explain this circumstance. In our labor law, the right exists for every person to work in dignity, with respect, and be paid according to what they have worked for. And the laws are very clear. And so anytime we are sending anybody out in this regime, we insist that there must be a memorandum of understanding with the companies that are taking them to insist on those existing laws within our legal system and in our labor front. Again, we insist that for anybody to leave this country to another country, there must be some bilateral relations with that country regarding the export of labor to that country. In other words, you can't just go into another country and work en masse in the manner His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has expressed without having to have a relation with that country.
Okay.
So we have looked at the two at the bilateral level and at the individual level, the levels where the ministry will have to sign an agreement with the companies that are dealing with the Ghanaian worker.
Okay, so I mean, what's the criteria for selection of these destination countries?
Well,
especially
it
for the
depends
first
on the
2,000 badge, actually. Yeah.
It is the interest expressed by those countries.
Okay.
In labor relations, we have interest of the countries wanting the labor of an external country. we have the external country having an interest in getting their people to work. So when the two coincide, then we assume that it is a legitimate country to deal with. The interests of both countries are expressed, and if the two interest areas coincide, then it means that there is a relation which we have to then materialize in the form of sending workers to those countries.
Does this mean that the countries can request for labor from us, and that's when you supply? Is that the arrangement, demand and supply?
Yes, they express, you know, an interest in the Ghanaian labor, and when we see that the people we are sending out are not too critical to us, then we agree to do so to solve two problems. One, to ensure that we satisfy the employment space that we want to cover, and second, to ensure that the person who is unemployed has something to do, and also to make sure we satisfy the other country that is looking for the labor. Yeah.
Aside this first 2,000 batch, how many Ghanaians are you actually looking to export in terms of labor in totality? Do we have a number to that?
If you at the point when we were campaigning, there was a 29 labor gap. You know, in other words, young people who are not employed or who were not employed at that time covered a space of 29%, 29.7%. That is, if you bring it down to 15 years and above to the limit where we call a person a young person, there was a 29%, almost 30% labor gap. You know, meaning that we needed to make sure we get as many as 29% of our young people employed, and they didn't have a space in this country to work. They finished their universities, some finished their SS, some did their training in other areas, and were not employed at all, looking for jobs to do. So we tried to cover this space by creating opportunities first in Ghana, where we have excess of them, then we can export them. So you have more than 1 million young people who today still want space in our workforce, in our workspace. And so if we cannot absorb all of them, it is only logical we give them space to work elsewhere. But rather than this kind of situation where people are trying to pass through the desert in dangerous manner, dying in the sea and all that, we try to create a situation for them to do it logically and to do it within the space of law and be able to go through the system without the pain they go through and be respected when they get there, and not the people who be exploited, cheated, and abused.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of monitoring and evaluation, what mechanisms are in place to assess the successes or failure of this initiative?
Yeah, we are working out a system where after we have sent some workers to specific countries, labor officers, perhaps with very senior officers, can go around to see how they are doing, listen to them. We want to keep them within. Now we are able to develop platforms that will get people involved. So we take their numbers, we give them, we listen to them whilst they are out there. Where there's a need for us to go and see how they are doing, we can do that, and to create a situation where they are confident that the leaders are watching. Ghanaians who have sent them there are also watching for their welfare.
Right.
To ensure that we don't have a situation where people are abused and destroyed when they simply want to earn a living.
Please stay with me for a second. I want to engage the Vice Chairman of TUC, Ken Twenebu-Akodia, is joining us also on Zoom. Sir, thank you for your time. How did you receive this news of Ghana exporting labor at this point, with the first 2,000 batch set to be exported soon? How did the news come to you?
Well, good morning, my sister, and good morning to my minister, Dr. Papepo. I must admit that this news came to us in a shock. We have worked closely with the ministry for years now, and some of us read it in the public, just like you, perhaps you also did. But let me say that as CUC, we welcome any initiative that would give employment, and I mean decent employment. Let me emphasize on the word decent employment to the Ghanaian people, and also an initiative that will enhance the working conditions and the employment rights of these people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for a start, I would say this is a good initiative, and it should be guided and regulated in a way that would ensure decent employment, a better working condition, and employment rights. Let me also add that aside and from listening to the minister, it appears they've gone very far in this arrangement. But I want government to also hasten slowly so that they engage properly.
Ken, are you saying that... Hold on a second. Are you saying that you were not consulted? There was no engagement with you prior to this initiative materializing at this point?
Not that I'm aware of. I have not cited any policy documents for our input. I have not cited I've not attended any program where this very good initiative has been discussed for us to make input into it. Okay. But it's not too late. I believe in the Minister for Employment. I know he's a gentleman, a fine leader who knows what to do to get this policy done in a way that it will achieve the government's objectives.
Okay,
government should engage, and I think that there are lessons to be learned from similar policies.
Okay.
We don't believe that throwing our Ghanaian people out there because they want jobs should be the way forward. There should be some regulation mechanism, not only government. Government over the years, I don't know the measures and the things they put in place.
Yes. So Ken, hold on. I want to speak to the minister on that. Okay. So Dr. Popio, do we have a proper labor export program? Last week we spoke to Kojo Nkrumah, who said that they had about 7 economic programs that have not yet been presented to Parliament, and there's no clear direction. This will bring the number to 8. And Ken is saying that you haven't properly engaged them. If there has been any sort of engagement, he's not aware of that. Dr. Popio.
Yeah, first of all, it's important. Let me thank him for the candid response he has given, but it's important that we look at it from a framework within which labor will understand what is happening. And so we have presented a paper to give a true perspective to what we are doing, policy direction. There's already a generalized policy on it, and which is what we are exploring now. But on specific basis, in order to get labor appreciate what we are doing, we are engaging them in a more formal manner. Cabinet is going to bring out a paper that will streamline everything. These are just still largely generalized policies, and when the specifics come out, definitely they will be engaged, and we will talk about it. So
this makes me wonder, when do you intend to export the first 2,000, and will these engagements happen before they're exported?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Yes. The whole idea will have to be streamlined, and they will be engaged. We'll discuss it. It will be very clear to every Ghanaian what we are doing, including those who want to take advantage of it. So there won't be any situation of surprises at all, because these are it's not just a labor situation, it's also a human situation. We are dealing with specific human life and the image of the nation as a whole. So we are very specific in what we're doing, and we will do it to the point that Ghanaians will be satisfied. So
aside the engagements with Labour, TUC and the rest, how about Parliament? To enable them to perform their oversight responsibility, are you going to also lay this before Parliament? Like a proper policy document for this, yeah?
Yeah, what is going to Parliament will be the review of the labour law. We are going to do some amendments to reflect many of these things that are taking shape. And we are working on it. It's a committee working on it. It has gone far. The finality is going to be presented to Parliament, Cabinet through the Attorney General, and it will be done in such a manner that will have a reflection of a legal framework.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Doc. Ken Tinubu Akodia. So this is what the minister is saying, that they will begin these engagements. How do you respond to that?
Well, having known the minister and worked with him sometimes, he's someone I can trust that he will do that. But I want to just add that the policy is a good one. I mean, the initiative.
Initiative, yeah.
The minister knows very well that for us as trade union in Ghana of almost 80 years of its existence, we take three things very serious: decent employment, and then we want to remind him that in whatever that the government seeks to do, i.e. creating employment opportunities for Ghanaians, these three things should be their anchors: decent employment, employment rights. My sister, even in this country, we see how some companies abuse the rights of workers.
Yeah.
Now, throwing Ghanaians out there where the legal regime favors the company, what measures, what protection? They are not in their home where they can stop work and come back and sit in their houses. They are in foreign lands. They are staying in the country is regulated by immigration laws. When they are thrown out of job, where do they go? And I don't know whether government, CUC, I believe the minister should engage.
Okay.
CUC is ready to support government to streamline this policy so that we all achieve our aim. It shouldn't be in a rush. Otherwise, it might even go a long way to affect labor migration. So I support the initiative, and CUC does, but let's engage. There are more questions to answer,
right,
and things to do to streamline this good initiative.
All right, thank you so much. Ken Tinubu Akodia is Vice Chairman of TUC. And Dr. Pelpio, just two last points before I let you go. So I know there are several countries who are already implementing a program like that. What best practices are you trying to emulate?
Well, essentially to look at the way by which in doing this exercise, lots of young people go out there, learn, and come back would express expertise to implement in their own countries. Some people just need to be exposed, and once they are exposed, they can do much more with their lives back home. We've seen it happen in various countries around the Caribbean, even in Africa itself, at various places in Asia itself. So people come back with expedite, experiences that will be implemented in their own countries. They also boost the economy of the various countries. Once they go out and they are earning and saving at home, it brings a lot of boost to the economies they have left behind. And again, it solves the problem of many people who have learned a job and are roaming about in the streets and not getting a place to work.
Right.
It solves the problem. Yeah. So we are expecting to gain a lot out of it. But we also do so conscious of the fact that we follow the facts of fair wages that will be granted them. We insist on the rights of the worker when they are out there to work, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm happy because the president himself is involved in this. He's very keen about following it to the letter, making sure we do the right thing. And, being inspired by his aspirations to work for the best of Ghana, we are doing so, committed to ensuring that we present the best and only the best.
I hear congratulations are in order. You have been elevated to something on the international front. Please share your good news with us.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, as co-chairman of the ILO conference.
Group chairman of ILO.
Co-chairman.
Co-chairman, okay.
I co-chair with the chairman, with the minister for Qatar, Minister of Labor from Qatar.
Okay, congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Ghana and Qatar that are co-chairing now. Yeah, so I'm happy it is happening this way. It's an innovation to Ghana as a whole. I'm committed to doing the right, making sure I project Ghana to the best of my ability to ensure that in doing what we do every day, we project to satisfy the generality of the needs for labor.
Okay.
And consciously knowing so, doing something to make sure that Ghana benefits a lot from the ILO.
How exactly, that's my final bit to you, and then I'll let you go. How exactly or is your position as co-chair of ILO going to help us in terms of the particular ministry that you even handle here? How will it benefit us as a whole?
Yeah, the ILO helps, and they work with governments all over the world to make sure labor issues are properly streamlined, and that in doing so, we have they help train labor leaders. They provide support to various countries in dealing with labor. They initiate programs that are of generality, targeting young people, creating opportunities for them to work.
Right.
Anything that will create jobs and opportunities for young people and for the country as a whole, they work at it. And so I would explore all those opportunities to make sure Ghana is not left behind. Ghana benefits as much as we can. And it's an opportunity for me to explore deeper into various areas that can create opportunity for the country as a whole. And I believe we can do so, committed from what we have learned in Ghana, in the various years.
Thank you so much. I know you're in Switzerland, so thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Dr. Rashid Popio is Minister of Labour, Jobs and Employment. I wish you the very best, sir.
Thank you so much.
My wonderful panelists this morning, this is another issue for us to discuss. And I want to start with you, Dr. Bonfair. We're exporting labor now. And for me, I think it's a good initiative. But the concerns about proper policy or, program documents, consultations, letting parliaments also, do their oversight responsibility, all of that. Dr. Pin, what's on your mind on that?
Well, I think that it's a good thing if we are getting the opportunity to export labor. And we must do it under all the available laws that guide that kind of process. I don't think this will be the first. I read somewhere that in 1965 or thereabout, school-going age was reduced so that we could get more people to come into the labor front because jobs were there that were unfilled to the extent that we could then be able to send some abroad if we needed to. But from the interactions that we have had so far, it does appear that not everything is clear to the public and then to the major stakeholders. Stakeholder engagement is very important in governance. How much information is available to Parliament on this program?
This is very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what are the documents outlining this program that Parliament can exercise its oversight on? Have we briefed Parliament on that? Are parliamentarians aware of that? And to what extent is this going to last? What kind of arrangement is going on between our government, interstate or intergovernmental level? It's important that we all in the public sphere are kept informed about these things. One thing that I maintain is this. In governance, you have no option than to let the public know how they are being governed and the issues pertaining to them. In the end, there will always be a termination point to every situation. So how do we bring everybody on board so that nobody is left behind?
Okay. Vicky, let me skip you and go to Mustafa, because I know this came up on the President's thank you tour in Ahafo region, where he mentioned that they are, getting ready to launch this initiative. Is that a reason why we are seemingly unclear on the policy direction, on the program's direction, and the nitty-gritty that goes into it, especially Parliament? It's very important that they understand and scrutinize this program before it actually materializes?
Well, I think that it's another milestone. It's a progressive one that will reduce the job insecurity we have faced, one that seeks to limit the vulnerabilities of our innocent Ghanaians who, one or the other, may want to seek international experience in terms of job. I have people paying middlemen up to $20,000, £20,000 only to get the opportunity to travel. Some go even in the name of scholarship, and they are in UK, they are not in schools, they are not finding jobs. You only get there only to know that there is no provision for you at all. And so this program, one, not only will it secure families, but it will also reduce our excess in terms of human.
In fact, underemployment even, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people who are not having jobs now.
I mean, the prospect of this initiative is not contested.
So the issue Kabila, my brother, raised, stakeholder engagements, I don't think that at this point Parliament is complaining. We haven't heard from Parliament. Number two, at the level of a framework, if the president hadn't mentioned, you may not have been aware at all. Yeah. The mere fact that the president has mentioned means that we would have gone to a point where this framework clearly, take cognizance of all the things we have mentioned. Okay. The security of these workers whilst they are abroad. In terms of oversight, responsibility of the embassies on the people who are working. And so when, you obviously know that for one to be given a job outside means that that job will be well paying when government actually intervenes. In any way, people go, and in their private schemes, they get jobs. Some get disappointed. There are even private companies now who are recruiting. Less to talk of government involvement. It just brings, some sort of regularization to all these labor issues. And for me, I'm happy that we are at this point. Now, the vice chairman of
TUC,
I was a bit worried when he was speaking. Also happy for him to have recognized the working relationship between the ministry and TUC. At this point, I really doubt if at the level where the framework was being developed, TUC would come in. It is now that the president has announced, because if you are not employed, you are not a member of TUC. You only belong to TUC when you are, employed. So
I guess that's an argument you should make. But this is a program that's going to export Ghanaians outside, and it's all under labor.
Of course,
and
this
so
is
TUC
lack of information.
Well,
and so it's important that they go back, like he said, get to the minister, obviously the sector minister, who they should be working with, and then get to know or get to understand the information that they don't have. I don't think that lack of information meant that the program itself is questionable or the framework is questionable. I can be corrected, and you should correct me. This program, this 1D1F program, it was a policy of President Akufo Ado, a brilliant one. I don't think that it went to Parliament until somewhere when they were hesitant, that they tried to pass a law on it.
It was in a budget statement.
The fact that it was in a budget statement, I'm not saying that Parliament didn't know about it, but it wasn't passed as a policy by Parliament structuring it.
So are you rationalizing the
I'm
fact
just
that
saying
it hasn't yet gone to Parliament, they haven't yet consulted the
when we try to look at it from the perspective that because you haven't gone to make it a law, meant that there's a problem. That's why I said it's information. As we speak, the committee in charge of labor and employment in Parliament, I'm sure that they would have been involved in these conversations.
Okay. Let me speak to Vicky. I thought that before the president even breaks calm on something like this, the key stakeholders ought to have some information, if not necessarily everything and a clear direction, at least they know. He said that they read about it, like the rest of us, in the papers.
Well,
what do you say about
that is clearly disturbing. I mean, the TUC, we know they represent workers in this country. So it's important that they will that they actually have proper consultations with them. And I think the minister said they will.
Yes, they will do that.
They will. So yes, but one thing I want to, I mean, I associate myself with all the points that have been made here so far on this. But one thing that I wanted to add is that I hope our citizens are not just going to be treated as guns for hire. You know, nobody has talked about knowledge sharing. Yeah. And so I hope that whatever agreement that the government enters into with the other countries will include an element of knowledge sharing, because it's not just a question of, oh, let's just alleviate our unemployment problems. Here you are, use them as you wish and bring them back. No, there has to be knowledge sharing. There has to be a benefit to the country other than just, you know, just letting them go so that we can solve our statistics on unemployment. Yeah. So for me, that is actually the critical factor. Let us make sure that's there. And that way, when they come back, they can actually add value
to the country.
So nobody has mentioned that. For me, that is what screams at me as a red flag. So I guess I would implore the president to ensure that that element is covered in whatever legal agreements they are entering into with the various countries.
Let's get into other people. But Mustafa, something you said, I want to get back to that before I forget. You said that Parliament is not complaining, at least not on this one. But we've heard that there are about 6-7 programs that have been launched that they don't have any documents yet. And this was from Kojo Nkrumah. We had him on an interview, I think on Thursday. He said there are some documents, programs, initiatives that have been launched, some started, and they don't have any documents. So this was a complaint from the NDC. I remember somewhere early last year, we had a conversation with, at that time, the chairman or the ranking member on Education Committee, Peter Lanchin Tobu, if I remember right. Yeah. And he said, as at the time we were having that conversation, they didn't have any policy documents on free SHS that had come to Parliament. Yeah. Isn't this mirroring what they did?
Well, I think that this has been a very good conversation this morning. To deal with this matter my way would have veered me into politics. But you see...
But is there a challenge? Is there a reason why...
Did it invalidate the importance of the free SHS? No.
No, it didn't.
Free SHS was a life-saving good policy for this country. Be it as it may, it was implemented. All right? With this SSS, it was implemented. And so, is it an illegality when government implements policy without first getting accord or approval or green light from Parliament? If that is not the case, for me, the most important thing is looking at the policy framework, its relevance to our country, and the implications on our finances in particular. Particularly when you are going to use the taxpayers' money. If the policy is good, that is it. Parliament is Parliament. If that is what is recurring from the executive side, I'm sure that they have what it takes to put some control measures in place to ensure that, look, this isn't happening again from now. We have now passed a law to say that all government policy initiatives must first come to Parliament for approval before the executive can proceed, so that the fact that government puts an initiative in a budget in itself would have meant that you haven't gotten parliamentary approval. So Parliament itself can look at, but until then, I think that it is what it is.
Okay, and this is coming up because you said they are not complaining. I'm trying to make you understand that they are actually raising concerns at this point, that there are some things that they are yet to be put in the know. But to be informed about. Let's move on. Just the headlines on the Ghanaian Publisher, and then we go. We have just 2 minutes to wrap up. Posterity is watching. Apenyo marking to NDC. Minister extols bauxite company, assures them of government support. Mahama praises Sami Jemfi. And Kofi Aban faces contempt in land case after being served with suit. So these are just some stories on the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper. So pick a copy for yourself and read. I'll come to you all for your final words. I'll start with you. Mustafa is laughing, so I'll come to him last. Vicky, final words.
No, I think this Wuntumi thing we should not be politicizing criminal processes. You know, it is what it is. We don't have enough information on the detail of it, and I'm a details person. You know, I'm a lawyer, I deal with facts. So we don't have all the facts. And also the amount, all this is an Ashanti thing and this and that. It's too much. I mean, we need to start moving away from it and take, look at start looking at issues, because this whole thing is not helping any of us. So I understand from what the Deputy Attorney General said that there may even be an international dimension to this. So let us wait and hear all the facts. Let there be more transparency on the side of the prosecution as well, before people start jumping to conclusions. We don't know what he's done or he hasn't done. If he's committed an offense, let us all see what those offenses are, rather than all these hints and papers and all the rest of it.
Points made. Dr. Bonfe.
Well, I think that YOCO exists, problematic in my view as they may be, on the existence of law, their functions, and how they are supposed to operate. They owe it to us to keep the public updated on their activities. They owe it to us. And as Vicky said, this whole thing about we are investigating him for this, CID is investigating him for that, this is investigating that person for that. As far as I'm concerned, if somebody is being investigated for some wrongdoing, the important thing is to try the person in a court of competent jurisdiction for the court to prove the innocence or guilt of that person.
All right.
Before that, whatever we do, we should be minded. And I want to conclude on the sad news of my friend Charles Adekoka, which is on the front page of the Custodian. And I will conclude with a text from Scripture, Psalm 90, verse 12. Teach us to number our days, that will gain the heart of wisdom.
Amen.
In my view, we should all see life as a test, a trust, and that it is temporary. In the end, what legacy will we be remembered? May he rest in peace.
I used to appear on a few programs.
Oh, okay.
In the past, so.
Mustafa, you have the final word.
Yeah, I think I'll start from where my brother ended. It's a sad day for us. In the end,
condolences to the family.
Having worked with him through opposition, we have won, and suddenly he departs. Let me also use the opportunity to wish my boss directly under who I work, Honorable Fifi Kote, happy birthday. Today is his birthday. Now let me quickly say this. When people have been accused of a wrongdoing, obviously the court exists, but you would definitely have to go through investigation process to establish whether or not there's some elements of a wrongdoing in the process. I think that we should just all allow, like Madam Vicky said, the process to run. Look, when I was watching
not when you are abusing
the persons who were demonstrating with Apenyo Market, most of them are under investigation, including Apenyo Market himself. So their cry,
well, thank you
their
so
cry
much.
is a cover-up.
You said we've had a great conversation. No politics. No politics.
To subvert.
Right, so this is a dedication going to Dr. Dennis Chei Botre, Head of Administration, Office of the Registrar of Companies and Adjunct Lecturer at Zgimpa. From your entire family and friends, happy birthday, Dr. Dennis Chei Botre. Really? Oh, happy birthday to him.
He was my best man when I was getting married.
Okay, a last one. So warmest birthday wishes to Madame Amma Sam of Dansoman Exhibition from Rose Blankson, Assistant Registrar at the University of Cape Coast. Rose Blankson is your younger sister and she's wishing you a glorious birthday celebration. From all of us here, our sympathies and condolences to the family of Adekoka. There you have it on your screen. Also join us for this conversation, Victoria Bright, lawyer, entrepreneur, and former legal advisor to former President Kufuor. Mustafa Gbande is Deputy Director, Operations at the Office of the Presidency, and of course, Dr. James Kwabena Bonfe Jr. is CEO of Census and a lecturer at UPSA. We also spoke to Dr. Rashid Pelpio. He's the Minister for Jobs, Labour and Employment. And we spoke to Ken Twenebu-Akodia. He's Vice Chairman of TUC. Don't forget, the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at affordable cost with flexible payment options. And that's it for the news review segment. Please stay because more action in our big segment stories. We'll be right back.
Welcome back on the AM show. We delve into our second subject on our big stories, and it's a joint investigation by Joy News and the Nigerian Health Watch that have uncovered how some parents are bleaching their newborn babies and children as young as 3 years old with toxic skin lightening creams. And you know some of them. Now, in 2018, the Food and Drugs Authority raised a public alert over the use of cosmetic pills by some pregnant women to bleach the fetus in their womb. Kwete Nate has been investigating this worrying trend and reports some parents are using high-risk disinfectants such as hypochlorite bleach, popularly known as Parasol, to tone the skins of their children in a desire to make their skin tones lighter. In our latest Hotline documentary, we focus on that, on the back of which we shall have a conversation. Enjoy.
Skin bleaching among children, a disturbing trend festering in Ghana.
Like kalani efe omu ya tuntumi sa enyamife.
A fashion craze now falls on newly born babies and children as young as 3 years.
I've had mothers who've had concerns about the color of or the complexion of their newborn babies. And some think there will be suspicion of infidelity. Others want some designer babies to have a particular color and therefore want to do anything to get the baby to get fairer.
Banned skin lightening creams containing toxic ingredients are being applied to tone children's skin and make them socially acceptable.
When they are like 3 years, 4 years going, that's when the parents, those who don't have knowledge about, that's where they start bleaching them.
This is happening in many parts of the country. But we begin our investigations in Choko, which is home to thousands of people. The people here are mostly fisher folks and traders. The puzzle here is why some parents in Choko are risking the health of their children just to make their skin lighter than when they were born.
Like kalani efe omu ya tuntumi sa enyamife nti enya nkubia nsu na midislanu light one ebena ni kala na da ofan na enye kokopa na diom so ema omu body mbom so nti uslan pana oyo kokopa onye fan de bia na oba fam nkunu ndine so nti enye nkubia na ya ye nkwala nkwa ni kala be fan nenso uslan pa kokopa ni body ntumi ba ni si de bia na oya nipa kese onenso nkunu nti de bia oya kitwa body ni ntumi njina ni so.
Carol has 2 children, and she is a fishmonger. Carol believes beauty is incomplete if a person's skin is dark. So, she has consistently managed to turn her dark skin tone and made it lighter.
Mi uso bi kokoye mi fe. Ntina mi so. Mr. na mi mpe koko pa light one.
Na o mama no papa o me koko.
Devi. Mi mama e tuntu, mi papa nsi e tuntu.
Na we say obane papa o ye koko.
Devi onye koko na nsu ni na ye koko.
Her children were born with their natural dark African skin tone. But Carol has not been happy with that. So when they were only 3 years old, she started applying skin toning creams and substances on the children just so they would fit in their community's definition of beauty, light skin.
O min strano ne so start ko school no na Mr.
O she school ase time ben odi mfie sen no she school ase
3 years.
Itu sha se extra no ho free 3 years eko. Inkuben na ode stra no ho.
Omusa skin light.
Skin light no one kasan so de srebi.
Debe mimi esun kwa misumisila.
Na inkuben na wo de stra.
The cream is called Skin Light, one of the popular skin lightening creams on the Ghanaian market. Its active ingredients are hydroquinone, mometasone, and tretinoin. Hydroquinone belongs to the class of skin lightening agents that work by decreasing the amount of melanin that is responsible for the darkening of the skin. But these ingredients would one day leave its users with grave health conditions, including kidney failure, liver challenges, and skin cancer. Reason the Food and Drugs Authority has banned some of these skin lightening creams.
For some, it's deliberate. It's intentional. They know what they are doing. They want their children to be fair. That's why they use these cosmetic products. Because they also contain skin lightening agents, which are toxic when they are used over a long time. As we talk, hydroquinone containing skin lightening cosmetics are not permitted as cosmetics anymore by the FDA Ghana. It can be sold as medicinal products in pharmaceutical outlets because of the need of this ingredient for certain skincare conditions.
Carol says she's aware of the long-term use of these products and the implications for her children, but she has found an unorthodox way around it. For a fishmonger, the cost of the bleaching creams is a huge drain on her income.
Why not travel?
Obi anche, me na me cause me penko a, me the best la. Nti me ana me kotoe. Enu bi na ni na nasila. Nti me ana me kotoe.
Eya onye worry say bia ode nkuni sra mo a ingredient ne betimi aha omo daache.
Enu de minim. Say betimi aha omo. Nenso anopa mislo mu zanaju mu sla powder edida anopa no mu sla anaju powder.
But she's not the only one neck deep in this creeping public health threat. Another mother who pleaded anonymity says keeping the skin of children fair is a big deal to many parents here in Choco. According to her, some mothers go to the extent of using a hydrochloride bleach.
I'm a use of Parazole. I'm a bleach of Parazole.
Parazole, like, how do they do it?
I'm mada lo Parazole. I'm a bahe. I'm a back pale raw. I'm a chumi heat me. To 30 minutes. It was 30 minutes. La chaba chale. Okay, the Quebec ajui. Make my own acid fuel photo. I'm a mummy. Ni ameke po ame kona fira me yachu
usually like akekpa beken bibi ahe alo
para most Parazole akekpa beken bi ahe mujime ni na wa na akekpa beken bi bona e wo ba na beken bi one da ko ekole ina stretch marks ebi feel red.
She lists the many banned creams that are used in the lightening of the skin of children. She says lightening the skin of their children is considered a status symbol.
Usually
mere creams ne kefio I'm usual.
Usually I'm use of Skin Light, Paw, Viva White, Pure Skin, Gold Skin, Pure White Gold.
Head of Cosmetics at the Food and Drugs Authority, Emmanuel Nkrumah, says hypochlorite, popularly known as Parazole, is not designed to touch the skin. Using such a bleach could be extremely harmful to children.
Parazole
That's the name that's been given to it, but it's a brand. The actual name is bleach. That is hypochlorite bleach. Hypochlorite bleach is not made to tag the skin, right? It's for floors, surfaces, to disinfect surfaces. And it's a very harmful chemical. It's even in that category, it's one of the high-risk categories in this class. And so when you use such a product on your skin, it's very dangerous. Even when you are using it to clean the floor, there are very serious precautions as to the protective clothing or hand gloves, etc., that you have to use, and the mode of use and application is also clearly indicated on the label. It's very important, and it has to be followed. So it's not a skin care product or preparation.
Some people usually associate fair skin with beauty, purity, and affluence. Those studies on bleaching of the skin of children in Ghana are limited. The World Health Organization reveals that more than a third of the population tone their skin. Bleaching of the skin is present in many African countries, with Mali pegged at 25%, while 77% of the Nigerian population use skin enlightening products. Gynecologist and former Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Titus Bayo, says some nursing mothers are engaged in bleaching their newborn babies. He provides an insight into why such mothers engage in the act.
I think I have had experience with mothers seeking to bleach the newborns. What I haven't encountered so much is people trying to bleach the baby whilst it's inside of the womb. That I haven't personally had an encounter with mothers like that, but I've had mothers who've had concerns about the color of or the complexion of their newborn babies. And some think there will be suspicion of infidelity. Others want some designer babies that have a particular color and therefore want to do anything to get the baby to get fairer.
He, however, paints a grim and worrying impact of the practice, one that's irreversible.
I mean, you can imagine the very obvious health consequences. Some do know about them. I doubt anybody will be completely ignorant that there are health risks associated with bleaching they themselves and the newborn. And for those who are not aware, they must know that there are serious health consequences to the mother that is doing the bleaching, especially if you are an expectant mother and you are bleaching whilst you are still pregnant. That has even more catastrophic effects on you. Right from all the steroid issues, the baby could come out with symptoms of virilization, where if it's like a female fetus, depending on what was used for the bleaching, it can have male features as a baby, and sometimes may lead to a phenomenon we call in medical terms ambiguous genitalia, where at birth it may even be a little difficult for the doctors or birth attendants to identify the sex of the baby, because if you are using some steroids and they are the male type of steroids and they are in excess, you can have the clitoris of a female baby becoming so big that you may think it's the male phallus.
In 2018, the Food and Drugs Authority raised a public health alert over expectant mothers relying on cosmetic pills to bleach their unborn babies. Dr. Emmanuel Nkrumah is head of cosmetics at the authority.
Glutathione has a way of doing that, but the glutathione itself is not registered as a cosmetic product to be used for skin lightening, because anything that you take in, whether oral or you inject, ceases to be a cosmetic product. It turns to be a drug, because the pathway is different from that of a cosmetic product.
There are fears some women are now resorting to intravenous bleach, where chemicals are injected into the bloodstream. The agents of this practice are the beauty and cosmetics clinics dotted in cosmopolitan neighborhoods. The investigative team engaged some of these clinics, and this is how much they charge per session.
But it's not a drip that will bleach you. So we just train you for a few minutes per skin. Then you have to do for particular sections.
We just never know. God forbid anything happens, you're always going to blame the drip. Okay. Yeah. And also, you know, it's fluid. We're mixing it with 500 ml of fluid. I don't want to overfill her. Okay. Especially because she's pregnant and so.
Dr. Bayu notes that the springing up of these clinics is worrying. He observed that bleaching through intravenous bleaching substances has far-reaching implications for every part of the body.
I think we should be very concerned about it, and I'm hoping that the regulatory agencies would quickly step in. Here I'm talking about the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, I'm talking about the FDA and other regulatory authorities that are in this space, because I mean, not even to expectant mothers, to anybody at all, there are risks of these medications. And now it's bleaching has gone high-tech.
Former Director General of the Garner Health Service, Dr. Nsiasari, believes the time to crack down on the operations is now.
I don't believe they are actual clinics. Most of them, I'm sure, are beauty parlors and beauty salons. I'm also worried about it because I see people even advertising boldly. And now everybody puts stethoscopes around the neck and this thing. So we are not even sure. I'm not very sure if it's owned and manned by health professionals. Anybody who goes into the body of the person, into the vein, or give any medication should be qualified to do so. So I know that HEFRA, which regulates such clinics, hospitals, maternity homes, and hospitals, some of us have asked them to go around and find out if these areas are actually registered.
Mr. Nkrumah's worry, however, is that many of the active ingredients in these skin lightening creams have been banned by the FDA and are toxic for its users.
That practice is not permitted, because if it is, then the Medical and Dental Council will have to approve either the individual who is doing that practice as a professional who has the requisite education and background to do that, or the facility will also have to be licensed by HEFRA to be able to do that. Then it means the details of whatever practice that goes in there has been seen and approved by the regulators for that matter. So if you are not in any of these categories, then you don't qualify to do that, because whatever is being done is clinical in nature. So it has clinical implications, and it has to be done by a qualified professional to be able to do that.
Back in Choco, many residents have expressed concern over this craze. It's become a popular culture that's been practiced even among children. Kweno Alote, whose sisters have bleached the skin of the children, is not happy with the act.
They are not aware of that. So because some people end up, when you see the body, like some after 15 years of bleaching, you end up, you see your body is very thin. Since you've bleached, the first layer is of that sort, then you see you end up seeing your veins, you see the veins, and then sometimes too, when there is a cut somewhere, it takes time to heal your wound. Then sometimes your face end up becoming some black green, some kind of colors.
Former Director General of the Garner Health Service, Dr. Nsiasari, argues that parents do not have the right to bleach their children. He says there are sufficient laws available to provide protection against practices that are inimical to the safety of the children.
Parent doesn't have that right. That's why the government and the legal systems are there to protect the innocent child. The child is not at the age to take decision for him or herself. For a care, he wants to be black, even darker. Now, even those who are white outside, they are trying to become dark. They go to the sand beaches to go and tan themselves. Some of them are now writing and coloring themselves. You will not even know if he's a black person or not. So allow the child to grow to the legal age, and the child will take his or her own decisions.
This is a dangerous phenomenon for both the children and parents. As the echoes of these stories linger, we are left with a sobering truth. The pursuit of lighter skin comes at a devastating cost to health, to identity, and to generations yet unborn. Behind every bottle of bleaching lotion and every bar of whitening soap lies a deeper wound inflicted by societal pressures and misguided ideals. But this cycle can be broken. The beauty of Ghana is not found in lighter or darker shades. It is found in the resilience of its people, the richness of its culture, and the pride in its heritage. It is found in the courage to say enough, to protect our children from harm, and to embrace the beauty of every skin tone. As we close this chapter, let this documentary be more than a story. It must be a call to action, a call for education, for policy change, and for collective efforts to uplift and celebrate the true essence of African beauty. Together, we can ensure that no child ever feels they must alter their skin to be worthy of love, respect, or acceptance. Let the light of self-love shine brighter than any shadow cast by colorism. For Ghana, for Africa, and for the world, it's time to heal.
Bleach to Babies, The Cost of Beauty. That's our latest Hotline documentary. Reminds me of that saying, right? Get no want to know get. People are fighting for, melanin in their skin because it's protective, and others also want to erase it. Well, let's have a conversation on the back of that. We're going to be interacting with our guests this morning, starting with Dr. Hilda Mantebia-Boy. She's a pediatrician. In fact, she is president of the Pediatric Society of Ghana. She also is a maternal and child health advocate. She joins us on this conversation. Also joining us, he is a member of Parliament's Health Committee, Dr. Titus Bayo. He is a member of the Committee on Legislation to regulate this practice, actually, so the Health Committee. So let me start with you, Dr. Boy, on this phenomenon. First off, what is bleaching? Break it down for us and tell us about the layers of skin that we have, if you can assist us with that. Dr. Mantebia-Boy. You may have to unmute, Doc.
Okay.
Right,
All
I
right.
can hear you now.
So when we talk about, can you hear me now?
I can, Doc. Please go ahead.
Okay. When we talk about bleaching, it's the process where people try to remove the dark layers of skin that are seen. The epidermis, in some cases, even the dermis, which is under the epidermis, will all be removed. And that will make them fair. The aim really is to try and make them as fair as possible. So that is why, or that is what the process entails. And some will actually even bleach until they begin to see blood.
Which is very worrisome. And I am intentionally asking you the question about the layers of skin. How many layers of skin do we have? And how many layers must go for you to start seeing fairer skin?
So there's the epidermis, there's the dermis, and then the hypodermis. So by the time you are around the dermis and the hypodermis, you may begin to see that the skin has become fairer. But it also depends on who the person is, because there are some people who are very dark. And so even if they bleach a lot, they will not become as fair as they want to become or they wish to become.
I see. And with children, these cocktails that I used are even more damaging. But let's start with adults. How damaging is it to bleach one's skin, especially knowing that we're full of melanin, so we are naturally darker in skin? What are the side effects when people use... Mercury is not supposed to be in our cosmetics, but some people are still producing them. Then high levels of hydroquinone and the rest. Walk us through that.
Yes. So when the skin is bleached, it puts the person who has bleached his or her skin at risk of having infections. So skin infections, something we call dermatitis. Again, they can have other forms of skin infection. Then they could also have a higher risk of developing skin cancer. The melanin is protective, and we, especially in Africa, with a lot of sun and all, helps to protect us from developing skin cancer. So once this protective layer is removed, then the chances or the risk of developing the skin cancer increases. The other concern is about wound healing. So when the skin is bleached, it becomes very difficult for the skin to heal or the body to heal once there's a wound or there's a damage or there's a cut in the skin. It becomes very difficult. Again, depending on the product that is being used, it can cause liver damage, it can cause cancer damage, and then generally the body becomes at increased risk of developing infections as well.
Right.
These are just a few of the side effects that the skin bleaching can cause. But again, it depends on the skin product. Then some people who have bleached their skin, initially they wanted to bleach their skin to look beautiful, to have that glow that they were looking for. But often at the beginning, maybe they'll get that. Then later, they begin to get some of these complications that I mentioned. And then again, the skin tone may become uneven. So you may see that some parts have become very dark and some parts are fair and all that. So it begins to affect their body image. Then there you could have the depression, anxiety, and some of the other psychiatric conditions also potentially setting in.
Right, and I'll come back to you shortly as far as these children are concerned, because they are innocent victims. But let me bring in someone who focuses on this area, Professor Edmund Dele. He's a dermatologist, and he's a known figure in skincare. Prof, good morning. Can you hear me, Professor Edmund Dele?
Yes, I'm hearing.
It's a pleasure having you join the conversation. I know you've probably dealt with hundreds of such cases on the back of your clinic and the work you do, but just how damaging is skin bleaching, and especially for the category of children?
First of all, I want to congratulate you and Joy FM, my favorite station, because that has been my life desire, to let the public know the damaging effect it has on the human being. And what the pediatrician is saying, you see, the layers of the skin are very important. And I have fighting for the past 51 years. I came to Ghana in 1974. And the first publication I made was bleaching can cause cancer. I didn't hide it. BBC took it up, and the whole world trying to listen that, oh, who is this young man? And I said, yes. You know, I sometimes don't want to go into those details that ordinary people don't understand. I said, just look at our brothers and sisters who have people living with albinism, or the people we see on the market there when they don't have melanin on the scalp. That's the simplest way to understand. What do you say that they have stores? And these are cancers, and I've gone through them. Some of them have made, they are succeeded to become free. But the most peaceful thing I told them was that we can't do that again. We can't. And I think West Africa came out with my hashtag that black beautiful. So I wanted black people to know that black beautiful, and that we should discourage as much as possible people trying to make their children fair. And I mentioned at that time that I'm proud of Joy, the man who went on this one, because I am interested in the differences between the black skin and the white skin. And in fact, my research is mostly on that. And one of the greatest dermatologists who was a personal friend of mine, he said, we wrote a book, Black Dermatology. It should be a specialty by itself, because we must understand the differences between our skin. And I tell people, it's very simple. Those who are not even dermatologists, take our black skin, clean it as much as you can, and take a small and put it in acetone and rub it on the black skin. It can never.
Prof, we're having some slight challenges hearing you very well. If you could just move just a little. I know you are consulting, but if you could just move just a little, maybe into another cubicle, I think maybe it would help the conversation. And then you can go ahead, please. Hello? Right. We'll try to reconnect with Prof. I'm just looking at, I was just watching briefly some scenes from the Miss World Competition 2025 and the black contingent from Angola to Ghana to Botswana and the rest, and the beauty of our skin and why some of us want to erase all of that, because it's a self-consciousness issue and it's a beauty issue. So maybe sometimes the question is, why are you shy of your skin color? Or is it what Bob Marley said, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery? Prof, you were making a point before we lost you.
Yes, sorry. So what
Please
I'm
go ahead.
saying is that she was trying to explain to you, the pediatrician, the layers of the skin. It is, as we know, the quantity of melanin that we have, both in the white and the black, they seem to be equal. But the distribution of the melanin is a problem. It goes back to our epidemic. So if you take it and touch it, it comes. And I'm saying that the first professor whom I communicated with, who did this work on bleaching, was my good friend, Professor Marshall. He's dead now. So that was where we tried in 1974 to talk to the patients, because it is not only the damage to the upper layers of the skin. It goes as far as to the collagen. It goes to this one. Those that give strength to the... So imagine an adult has problems, and the small kid, it's terrible. The pediatrician would tell you that definitely with the younger people, it's more dangerous than even the elder.
Prof.
How do you treat a child with this? To make the child white for what?
And that's the question, Prof.
Beautiful.
That's the question. Black is wonderful. It's amazingly beautiful. But my question then is, if you look at the trajectory, and I've actually followed this rhetoric, the likes of Nigeria, Congo, Brazzaville, Ghana, Senegal, and South Africa, we're in a certain ignominious bracket when it comes to skin bleaching in Africa and in the world. You say you've been talking about this since 1974. The question is, why are people not listening? Why is skin bleaching still on the rise? And now we are targeting children.
Well, let me tell you, it may seem humorous, but you see, the blame comes to we, the men. The women accuse us that we like fair ladies. And I'll give you a story which is interesting. I was in a secondary school in Tamale. And as soon as we saw a fair lady coming, teaching a lady coming there. Look, I'm telling you, we all rushed to see this fair lady. So we saw it. We thought she was beautiful. But when she got closer to us, when you looked at the face, it was terrible. So this has actually been ingrained in the mentality of black people. I cannot explain. I feel ashamed. Why do you want your child to be fair? Why? They should ask it. And in fact, somebody came out clearly to say that if you are not proud of your color, then you can't call yourself an African or a Ghanaian who is not proud of his color. God has given us this color, and it has explained to us why we have this melanin. And this melanin is a protective thing. And you start destroying it from the child. So how do you want? And so, you see, the collagen fibers, those that hold it, and the elastic fibers, they are transformed into a terrible thing we call the banana type of thing. You see that if you do the histopathology, you see you are destroyed. So now imagine a child. And if the child goes out, you know, as they grow, they go out play, the sun rays go on this child. You are just destroying it. And I'm so proud of what you people are doing. As for Joy FM, actually is the joy of Ghanaians, but sometimes you also bring us such sad news. I am so ashamed, and I'm so proud that you brought this for discussion. Is it ignorant? Is it really ignorant that the mothers do this? And I've been talking about it. Why go and bleach your child? Why?
That's the question, Prof. And I believe on some other occasion within this week, we'll have more time to speak to the issues. But thank you for taking time away from your consultancy to speak to us. Professor Edmund Dele.
It's a pleasure, and I'm proud. Please, I'll be very much interested in continuing the conversation. And the one, I'll be so proud of the person if we can work together so that we actually go out the crusade. I've struggled for 1 year. I've not succeeded. I hope Joy FM coming in, we must let it drum it the mother and drum it for all black people all over the world. A man is not out of his color. He's not fit to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I dare say this is criminal to do this to a child who has no options. But Dr. Mantebo Biaboy, 2 quick questions. One, what is the impact on children since you're a pediatrician? And secondly, how does this link to NCDs, non-communicable diseases, diabetes, kidney-related issues, and the rest? Doc.
Okay, so I think I mentioned a number of them earlier. So again, the skin infections, the risk for skin cancer. Then if it is steroids that they are using, it can cause growth failure. So they may end up being shorter than they could be. They could develop hypertension. They could become obese. They could become obese. And then they could also develop hypertension. So the hypertension, diabetes, all these non-communicable diseases could rise in them. And then the other
Doc,
thing is also
are you saying the children as well could get all of these, including the hypertension?
Yes, we have children who have hypertension. We have children who have diabetes. Typically, among children, you are more likely to have type 1 diabetes than type 2 diabetes. But with the obesity and the other risk factors, once they increase, then you could have type 2 diabetes, which is commoner among adults occurring in their children. And the children have their whole life ahead of them. I mean, if you're an adult and you are bleaching, how many more years do you have to go? But if you are a child, you have your whole life. If it's 40, if it's 50, if it's 60, if it's 70. So you have a longer time to manifest all these dangerous or bad side effects of the medications or whatever drugs or chemicals you're using to bleach the skin of this child. And that is why we think it is a big problem and something that we need to deal with even now. And I'm also very excited that the Joy News team has taken this up to work with all of us to try and curb it.
Now, just to maybe your final thoughts, there are those who take pills like capsules or whatever when they are pregnant So they are bleaching themselves and bleaching the babies inside out. And the issue of regulators, mercury-containing products, hydroquinone, has to be within certain limits. But some of them are using them. What are your quick thoughts on that? Final words on that.
To be able to deal with this issue will require it will be multidisciplinary. We will need the Food and Drugs Authority, we will need the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Health, Food and Drugs Authority, the media, and all the other agencies that have an interest in child health, not even child health alone, but the health of the women and even men, because men are also bleaching, to work together to try and ensure that the laws work. If the products are not supposed to be on the market, we have to increase the surveillance and pick them up, prosecute whoever needs to be prosecuted, in addition to whatever education, because once there's demand, supply will find its way. So while we try to work and reduce the appetite of the mothers and the fathers against the bleaching of the skin, then the demand is likely to go low. But the regulatory agencies have to do their bit. And again, industry players. So if you're looking for somebody to do an advert, should it be somebody who is definitely fair? So we need to look at all these and ensure that there is equity. Okay, people with dark skin, people with fair skin, people who are big, people who are small are all represented nicely. So once all these happen, it will help to reduce the drivers of skin bleaching within the community and within the country.
Right. Doc, we're grateful for your time. Like I said, we shall have more exhaustive conversations on the back of that latest Hotline documentary, Bleached Babies, the cost of beauty. Should it come at a cost? Those who joined us, Professor Edmund Dele, he is a dermatologist, founder, board chair of Rabito Clinic. We also had Dr. Hilda Mantibia Boy. She is president of the Pediatric Society of Ghana. She's also passionate about maternal issues. Let me quickly do this, and then we'll move on to our very next conversation right here on the show. A very happy birthday to Vida Ama Nkrumah. Vida Ama Nkrumah. It's coming from your brother, Francis Nkrumah. Happy birthday to you. May God bless and keep you. Have a wonderful day. Vida Ama Nkrumah. Ghana, let's talk water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's really simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong, it is durable, it is built to handle our Ghanaian weather. So rain or shine, Syntex tank has got your back. So my people, go outside, step outside, check your tank. If it doesn't have the mark of a tortoise on it, you know what time it is. It's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough, like a tortoise. Just call that number, 0244 335 168 to buy now, or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, strong, tough. I'm also inviting you to get ready for the 7th Ghana Football Awards. Join us on the 14th day of June at the Palms Convention Center for a night of excitement, glamour, and the celebration of Ghana's finest football stars. Let's unite the nation once again through football. Ghana Football Awards is a Football Impact Africa initiative powered by Activate 360 and proudly supported by the Multimedia Group and A&E Mediacom. Ghana Football Awards, celebrating the stars of our passion. Well, stick and stay with us. We have more conversations and later in the trends coming your way. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the AM show. It's time now for us to talk about neonatal jaundice awareness, which is usually, which happens in the month of May, but it's still early days yet. We can discuss this. In the studio with me this morning is Christine Benson and Olivia Degboy. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So, what is it that you do at Pediatric Society of Ghana? Just introduce us to that briefly before we talk about jaundice. Christine, I'll start with you.
Okay, so basically the Pediatric Society of Ghana, name pediatric. So it's a society, a combination of all the pediatric personnel that we have. Basically, they partnered with us. So we are from the Children's Hospital, Princess Mary Children's Hospital.
Okay.
Pediatric Society just like partnered with us on the jaundice awareness.
Okay, all right. Olivia, let's talk about jaundice. What is neonatal jaundice? Give us a fair overview of what it is.
Okay. So when we say neonatal jaundice, it's just the yellowish discoloration of a newborn's eyes. So when we say a newborn, we mean from the first day of birth to 28 days. So in a month, when we have discoloration, yellowish discoloration of the child's eye, then we say the child has newborn jaundice.
And Christine, is it only the coloration that gives you the indication that a child has jaundice, or what are the symptoms?
Okay, so basically, she mentioned the coloration of the eye. You can get the skin turning yellow. So normally, a newborn should be pink, like pinkish. Okay, but then with jaundice, you realize that they move from the pinkish tone more to yellowish. The mucous membranes, by that I mean the mouth. When the child opens the mouth, you can see that the membranes are more yellowish. The palms become yellow, the sole of the feet becomes yellow. So yeah, those are the places that you'll actually see the yellow pigment.
So what causes that?
So let me break it down. Jaundice basically is just a buildup of bilirubin in your blood. I don't know what that is. Great. So bilirubin is a component of red blood cells. Red blood cells have a lifespan. So let's say after they are done with their job, they break down, okay? And the bilirubin is a pigment. It's like, let's say, the leftovers when the red blood cells break down. That's the bilirubin. Okay. So what happens in jaundice is there's a buildup. Usually the body in its own mechanism should excrete all the waste. Bilirubin being waste should be able to be excreted by the liver. So if for any reason at all the excretion process is stalled or delayed or is not going on as it's supposed to, there's a buildup.
Okay.
And the bilirubin is yellow in color, so that's what the yellow is deposited in the eyes and the skin. So basically, newborn jaundice is a condition where there is a buildup of the bilirubin in the child's blood.
Okay.
Given the yellow.
Right. And Olivia, what are the types of jaundice that we have? Because I hear you say newborn jaundice, which is one type of jaundice, right?
Right.
Educators.
Okay, so I'll just add to what Christine had said about the bilirubin. So with the newborns, their liver is immature, so they are unable to excrete the bilirubin when their red blood cells have broken down. So this buildup will cause the jaundice. So we have the physiological jaundice and we have the pathological jaundice. So research has also shown that out of 10 babies, I mean children that had been delivered at term, we would have about 6 of them developing the jaundice. And then out of preterms, those who are born before time, we could have about 8 of them presenting with jaundice. So when we talk about the physiological, it's just the explanation we had given that in a newborn, the liver is immature, so it's possible the child will not be able to excrete. And then with the physiological too, it happens after 24 hours of birth. But then when we come to the pathological, this happens within the 24 hours. Once the child is born and you see the discoloration, you know that this is pathological. Then that means that there's something wrong. There could be liver problems. We have a condition called G6PD. It also puts them at risk for the pathological. But then generally, if a child has the physiological, it's supposed to just go by itself. Once we are breastfeeding the child properly, it should be able to resolve by itself.
Okay, so that's hopeful.
Yes,
it means that there's a way to manage, treat, or cure. Let's talk about that. In terms of management, treatment, cure, what are the options, Christine?
So I will sum it up. You know, we've been doing jaundice awareness for a while. We are talking, we're trying to teach the mothers how to identify what's happening, identify the early stages. Because with jaundice, the earlier the treatment, the better. So this month's, last month's celebration was more of we're moving from awareness to action. It's not enough just to know what it is. The cream of the cake is at what point did you intervene? So she said, of course, jaundice, it shouldn't cause problems, really, because once we figure it out, we start breastfeeding is going on, we are monitoring the child and all. The problem is when it accumulates, the volumes accumulate, because you see, the brain has a barrier. So not all infections can get into your brain. But the issue with the bilirubin is it can actually cross the barrier into the brain. And that's where all the problem is.
Okay.
Do you
So,
get it?
yeah, I mean, while we are creating awareness and letting people understand that something like this exists and it's not like in itself an end to a life, there are ways to treat and manage. I'm sure there's a message that you have for our audience. I'll start with you, Olivia, in terms of creating awareness and sensitizing our people. What's the message here?
So the message is simple. Early detection saves lives. Once you have your newborn, we are saying that every morning, bring your child out. Don't keep your child indoors. Our local setting says that once you have a baby, you shouldn't go out. You should be indoors the whole time. But sometimes if you are indoors, you may not see the yellow. So sometimes we are hoping that every morning, just bring your child out. Look at your child. Any unusual color you see, any unusual thing you see, you should just follow up, come to the hospital. Let's assess thoroughly, and then let's take it from there.
Thank you, Olivia.
And lastly, for the dark children, you know when your child is fair and is changing and is yellow, you are able to easily identify. But once the child is dark, you may not see if you are indoors. But when you bring the child outside, you assess your child every morning. So the message is also that every morning, look at your child, assess your child, then you can detect early.
Thank you. In a way, that's a preventive measure so that you can detect it earlier. Yeah. Christine, what do you add to that? What's the message?
So lately, we realized that when they bring the children to the hospital and they're jaundice, where we ask, it's either they don't know what's going on. Such mothers probably never went to antenatal clinics and all of that. So we are saying that it starts from pregnancy, because there are some factors that will give us an idea that this child is prone to jaundice, okay? So we are saying it starts from pregnancy. Please do the ANC clinics. They will teach you the red flags. They will test you some of the factors that lead to the jaundice, which is the resource incompatibility. We will pick all of these up at the ANC clinics. And then the superstitions, because you see, it's sad. We had a mother who shared a story. She saw the jaundice. She realized the child was turning yellow. And then the native doctors, oh, it's nothing. Right. Put them in the sun and yada, da, yada, da, yada, da. And unfortunately, this child had to develop permanent brain damage.
Oh.
So you have your child, the child is like 8 or 9, and the child can't walk, can't talk, all because jaundice. So we are saying, listen, it's either you raise the alarm early, bring the child. If it's one of those ones that you can just treat with breastfeeding, great. If not, then we intervene as early as possible.
So early detection, early treatment, and that will save a life. Thank you so much for joining us. Christine Benson and Olivia Dugbo, they are senior nursing officers from PML Children's Hospital, creating awareness on jaundice. Now, coming up next in the trends with Jacqueline Ansomayabwa and Derek Ashilevi. Please stay.
Good morning, Ghana. It's Monday and the tea is hot and so is the timeline. I'm Jacqueline Ansomayabwa.
My name is Derek Ashilevi. And you know what? When we team up, no trend can escape us. Because here we'll serve you hot and spicy.
Well, of course. So a lot of stuff has been trending. Speaking of fire, there was a natural fire at Jean Nelson Hall. And, you know, ex-social media didn't stay calm for a second.
And of course, while there was fire in one side of the crowd, there was flames. As Chairman Wuntumi was trending throughout the entire week. We'll bring you a breakdown of that.
I mean, it was not all tears, but there was glitz and gears as Despite opened his luxury automobile museum and many more that was trending over the weekend on social media.
And today we'll give you a video of the day where a guy called Patapa, is it Patapa or Patapa?
Today our video of the day is all the way Swedro's finest.
Great. let's run you through our very first story. And the story that made headlines behind as well. Chairman Wuntumi's arrest and detention. Yeah. We all know that, I mean, after the national security invaded his home in Kumasi, asking him to submit himself, he did so on Monday. Then on Tuesday, he went again to the CID headquarters. You know, you have to show up again. He did, and guess what? He was picked up and arrested on that day.
Yeah.
Everybody thought, oh, chairman is going to come out.
I mean, after some few hours.
He didn't come out. Then it happens that he's still being detained. So that night, I remember Lateef Abubakar was at the Yoko head office where he was even covering the news and even assaulted in the process.
Yeah.
Then on Wednesday, it happens that, hey, it looks like Chairman Wuntumi is not going to come out.
Wuntumi,
then his bail sentence, his bail amount is what? 50 million Ghana cedis. Yeah. With two sureties, you know, of course, landed properties for that matter, meaning that he has to submit a property that is worth that amount. Then MPP, the minority, felt that, no, Charlie, you can't treat our boy like that. That's our chairman. You can't treat our chairman like that. So guess what? On Thursday, they walked out of Parliament.
Yeah.
Led by the Honorable Afenyo Markin, and something we'd never seen before. Yeah. I mean, we've seen protests in these countries where people do things, but to see members of Parliament protest and sit on the floor. I mean, in the heat of everything, social media definitely makes light of all the weighty issues. And so listen to this video that's playing on your screen right from scratch. Listen to this.
Simona Oto Nidin Petro. Nininia Andrea. Yakubu. Ni Yohane. Filippo. Ni Bartolomeo, ni Matthew, Thomas, Yakubu Afioba, ni Simon a wɔfrɛ no Selote no. Yuda Yakubu nuano. Ena Yuda Iscariot a woyi no maaye no.
I mean, guess what? We don't, in fact, one of the things I personally don't do is to bring down a man who is already down.
Yeah.
I mean, but social media makes light of big and
there was a whole
issues.
challenge, you know, there was a Wuntumi challenge. The part that he said that, you know, there's a whole lot of challenge. Even after, I mean, we are not there yet. It's part of our trends for today. The PSG loss. They did it to everybody.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, I mean, you're gonna need a lot on social media.
Ghana from sorry, Ghana from Jackie. What has social media been saying?
All right. So if Susie says that, hey, who brought social media to Ghana? That's a very big question. You know, and what's the name of Judas? You know, there are different videos.
Yeah, a PAJ. And in other videos, you see Coca.
Yes.
As Judas, you know.
Yeah. And Festus says, hey, Ghana. Oh, no. And the last comment here, Wuntumi nimse Wuntumi. Na Wakofa chairman Wuntumi atone hoso.
Just a chairman into me. Chairman Wuntumi into me. Man, I think other people have comments on that.
Yeah, let me run through some here. So, Omisti says that, why? Am I not a Ghanaian anymore? So right now, you've won elections to become president, so am I not a Ghanaian anymore? All Ghanaians rise up. All Ghanaians rise up. All MPP members rise up. Because if you, Mahama, is doing this to me, MPP is because of you, Mahama is doing this to me. If you know what he's saying, is that was
Ghana from sorry.
Yes, that's what he's translated there. And Delight says that if Chairman Wuntumi really makes $1 million a day, owns 500 excavators and 400 pickups, then Yoko should be asking different questions entirely. Because at this point, it's either he's Ghana's Elon Musk or we are all being taken for a ride through fantasy.
Jackie, on the serious side of things, isn't it quite absurd that members of Parliament, don't forget, Chairman Wuntumi is not a member of Parliament.
Yeah,
and not. You desert Parliament, sit on your butt. I've never...
They sat there for like 3 to 4 hours. Yeah.
I mean, in solidarity, when our river bodies were going brown and things, who cared? Honorable.
Nobody cared.
I never saw Honorable Afenyo Markin sit on the floor. No. I mean, of course, when it happens, we'll report it. Another story that has made headlines and we're all excited about is the fact that despite automobiles have launched a museum, I mean, the Despite Group, the brothers have, I mean, these guys are a big fan of cars. One of the things we know them for is that
vintage cars
for that matter. Yeah. And so, guess what? They put together one of the biggest automobile showrooms in Africa. You don't find this in Africa. Oftentimes,
I mean, it's the third in Africa and the first in West Africa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Third. So, in fact, what makes this a lot more different and sets apart from the regulars is the number of vintage cars. You know, some of these cars are no longer being made. In fact, some of them are one of one. One of the cars that is actually the bonnet of the car is literally a refrigerator, you know. And of course, a lot of big people trooped in. We saw Otumfuo.
Yeah, Otumfuo was there. He was the biggest. He was the biggest person there.
Exactly. Ibrahim Mahama, former President John Ejekun Kufuor was there. Sarkodie. I mean, the guys.
The celebrities too were there.
They were there. Yeah. I mean, got social media really talking. Jackie Rama.
All right. So Abodin says that poor man Pikin go talk say na vanity, but he gives them 100 Ghana cedis. He go they sing praise give you.
Charlie.
People were saying that what they were doing was, I mean, vanity upon
vanity upon vanity.
And the next comment says that you see how the elites rose together, nothing like tribalism, but poor people will be here fighting and bragging. Wow. The last comment here says that, so what's the meaning of this? If they become mute and nowhere to be found, and when they become mute and nowhere to be found when it comes to sick children crying for help for emergency treatment. If there's one thing I've learned over the last few months, it's my own money. RNAQ40 or whatever. It's my own money. And I choose to do whatever thing I like when it comes to my money. He decided to do, a show with his money. Yeah. So please, when you get your money,
you use it for what you want. In fact, what even makes this a lot more interesting is that Ibrahim Mahama, who is often being compared to the Despite brothers for his philanthropy. You know how Ibrahim Mahama, this year alone, has taken care of a lot of people's surgeries, paid for flights for people to get their eyes, you know, work done and all of that. And Ibrahim Mahama was there, and you could see them really gelling and flowing. But and it goes back, you know. Man. Do you have more comments on that?
Yeah, let me just run through one last comment. Someone said, was at Pia Stadium there yesterday. I haven't seen any video of his.
Yeah, because that guy where big people are,
he's always there.
What do you say? He tries. In fact, you know that Ibrahim Ahmad already gifted him a Toyota Land Cruiser, the 2025 model.
I mean, if he had shown up yesterday, I mean, one of these cars.
Perhaps, you never know. Of course, to a very sad story, University of Ghana reopened just last week. My kid's sister went back to school. And in the first week, in fact, 2 days in school, 2 big stories made the headlines. One was a student who was having sex first week of school, but we will bring you that story. But a more sad story.
Who would you so?
Charlie, a more sad, in fact, that video also went viral, but a more sad story is a student who left her present iron and left for lectures. Comes back and look at the room. And before say, I should drebe, and I know say, yeah, drebe.
At this point, Benjamin should save you.
And what makes it this quite sad is the fact that all the halls were renovated recently for the All-African Games. So they have ACs, water heater, and all of that. Jackie, run us through the comments on that.
All right. So Son of the Soil says that, how do you carry your brain to lectures and leave your sense of responsibility in the room? This is how someone burns a hostel and still shows up for exam like nothing happened. Some degree should come with the fire extinguisher.
I think that's some bars.
Bars. Money says that, forgetful students, say. I mean, people were asking questions, why would these students leave on the iron and go to lectures? Usually, before I leave the house, I make sure I double check everything. But who knows? Anything could happen. So
great. Guess who is being trolled on the internet? I mean, PSG won the UEFA Champions League yesterday, but Mbappe is the one taking the swipe because he left Real Madrid just last year, of course, with the chances of going to win, you know, the UEFA Champions. And the team he deserted had rather won it, so people are giving him quite a swipe.
I say he deserted. Was deserted the word?
Well, I mean, he
as a Real Madrid fan, I feel sad.
Man, that guy has really suffered a lot.
This weekend was, when I saw the trend, they were using the wound to me stories and all that. So let me just get one comment from, let me see if you have some comments. So Jubilano says that the grass is not always green on the other side.
Charlie debut.
Crypto says that true story, sometimes you need to sell your best player for the greater good of the team. A lot of trolling on social media, Charlie.
Great. Of course, that's all we have for you. In the trends, we would have brought you the story of Patapaa, but of course it will feature in the subsequent bulletin. But guess what's coming up next? Is Ghana Grows, and Sweetie is going to take it away and give us the juice on that. Sweetie, what do you have for us?
Well, Jacqueline and Derek, it's always a pleasure to see you. But like we always do on Mondays and on Thursdays, we leave you with Ghana Grows Changing Narratives, which is brought to you by MasterCard Foundation in collaboration with Springboard Roadshow Foundation. And that installment comes in the next 5 minutes. After that, News Desk follows. Bye for now. Have a good Monday.
Yakoto banchina yedi bedushu ayesensen na machine ababa yam oyam ria na yasegu bottle nketewa no na ya pama no na omude agu dry no adry amai na fe yachi ini disafura tacho ajuma ye gari ajuma Mishe garasi 5 years ni na me ye gare ntimi me wari no na me kunu ma me ye gare ntimi hwe no me nse gare no ekoye na me di me ho ejimu na me sumi ye akara mfe doni na me nim safura na ye chegare na me ye gare ni bi but me ni ho me tu kwan me ba ya na sika me wonti na me gusu a me boabo ma me kaka Kenya bisa sidi ajuma bia ni ho se gare na na yina ye a e boy na tama me ye no na fa so free mu e mami awo bre o so ya obanya dia obadi na dia akola me ba fa akosoko nte ye ya kakala dia yanya gare ye ndia abo me gare nu mu na yesu yedidi editwa bade fo no na me bi twa me ba school fees me bana me boana enyine jo tuma me kakra ma me ko to de me sumepe Ghana Grows ajuma mu ye ajuma papa nti mu nkwaso na mu ye se mani da swan se gari ya ye ekoso yenya nkasie yetimi ija no ho gina ye yisu gasha na machine bi netim boy Akutu ame won se me de mama mbabunu ne se omun kwaso no omu ani nda omu adwuma ho no omu ye ndi ni safura ni friki ntampo me chigari Ghana Grows so big
Ghana Grows Hope Day.